Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. I'm Ian, joined as always by my good mate Lockie. And yet again, there is a lot going on when it comes to Carlton. And look, if we're to do this right and be aligned with the club, it's going to have to be a no BS podcast, Lockie.
Yes.
I know you absolutely love that. So, mate, how are
No
you?
fence sitting.
And, how have you been taking in all of the current Blues news cycle? It seems like everything is being discussed right now. Every day it is about us, which is kind of wild when you think time of recording, the first final is being played. Finals footy will be all over this weekend, yet we're still the number one talk of the town somehow.
We really are. I was going to mention that to you in our little pre-show chat, that it's always all these shows. It's always, let's lead off with the Blues. It's not like there's 8 other teams still going in the finals. It's all about us. Mate, I'm feeling positive. I'm up and about. The vibes are good. There's change brewing. There's change already happening. I'm doing everything possible just to keep the negativity out and just be in my little positive bubble of this premiership side we're building. How's that?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely somewhat aligned to that. Maybe not as positive, but I'm also not pessimistic. I'm living in this weird space of I'm excited for change's sake. I feel like we've run back so much of the same coaches, the same administrators, the same playing list the past few years, and we got to a prelim. Is that good enough? No. So let's not throw it out too much. I think there's still a good list in there. There's still enough pieces, but some change needs to be made. And I think I'm just more excited to see what levers are pulled. And I'm hoping enough of them are. But let's start with the first one. Let's get into some Blues news because this episode will be going through, reacting, discussing all the major things happening at Carlton. And the main thing that we've been trying to get to these last few episodes, but we've been chatting for way too long, I can confirm will take place on this episode. We'll be chatting about the list. We'll be making a depth chart, revisiting the one that we also made at the start of the season, seeing what changed, and then going through the out-of-contract players, a bit of a keep, trade, delist game, kind of all leading to this off-season, because that's where all the big changes seem to be being made on this list. And can we build something? What are our list needs? Who can we bring in? All that will be discussed. But let's start off with the most concrete news that Jack Silvani is no longer a Carlton player. He will be at the Saints. That is his landing spot. I guess, what was your reaction to his decision to choose St. Kilda over the Pies and the Dogs? And does this change how you see this situation at all?
Totally changes it. Did we say this on the pod last week? That, like, I can't remember if it was on air or not, about like if it wasn't Collingwood being part of this situation, would we feel differently? And it was kind of like, yeah, probably. Well, here we are. And all I felt was, this is just so funny. And of all the places you could choose with the circumstances that's surrounding it, for it to be them, like, it's just perfect.
Yeah, I think your text message to me was literally, I think this is the funniest scenario possible. And it's just everything, like,
It is.
to go where his dad is again, for Saints to pay him as much as they did. Like, that's probably what changed it for me. As soon as a player wants to go, they say they're leaving, and you get further down the line, you do start to tell yourself it's a good thing, whether it is or it isn't.
Yep.
And then in the case of this, probably the big thing that changed it is simply the contract. Because when I take a step back and I evaluate this, seeing him $850K a season, 5 years, for me, I would be pretty upset if that's what we were paying him to get him to stay. If that's the going rate, if that's the offer, that's way too high for me. Years-wise, due to durability, he's really played one half season in defense, looked great doing it. Yep. He's had durability issues. Is that enough for that longevity and then also that price and what that does, knowing we need to make some moves elsewhere around this squad? Seeing that price tag was just too much for me and has really shifted my thinking. I want to ask you, was that a big player in your mood around this? And would you have been okay if it was $850 to keep him? What would your kind of reaction be to that?
Yeah. Part of this, I think, still is to be played out, because I think a factor is the compensation that we get, which I know is what kind of Carlton fans been talking for the last few days with all this. So yeah, that there's an opportunity cost element there too. It's tricky because I know we talked about this last week, but I think it's worth mentioning again that if we had Hoff fully fit for round one, I'd feel even better about this. We still need to kind of plug that gap for us. But with the terms that we know, yeah, happy that it's happening that way. Yeah. I had another point that it's escaped me, so you keep going.
Well, that's all right, because I'll shift to the compensation, because I think that's the interesting
Yes.
part of this. What do you make of it potentially triggering band one, or because of his age, which is being speculated, it will be an end of first round pick rather than adding on to our sort of pick 9-ish areas being a pick 10 or something like that? What do you make of, I guess, what we're getting back and the discrepancy in maybe the compensation?
Yeah, it's a good one, and it's not something I'm actually super opinionated about, nor as knowledgeable as some. Like, to me, if it like put a pick number on it for me, like for the people, what it could be.
Well, it'd either be, I believe the TDK compensation is pick 9, so it'd be what? It'd either be pick 10 if it's band one, or if it's the other, it's then end of first round, which depending on how many of those picks exist and what that gets pushed back to, but 19 at the moment.
Well, if you look at it from
20.
that perspective, then let's say it's 10. Would you have, if Sauce was under contract, would you be accepted pick 10 for him?
I would have accepted a lot less. So
In a
pick 10 is incredible.
Right?
Yeah. I still think the end of round one is quite high for...
I agree.
If he was on the market, I think he'd maybe get a second rounder and something else.
I'm just looking at do you remember what Matt Kennedy was in the end?
Oh, I think it was the pick that we ended up bringing in Hoff, which I think gets forgotten about in that deal. We're all upset when we saw how well Kennedy was playing, but that allowed us to get Hoff, which I think was like pick 30.
Yep.
Was it pick 34 or 37? Yeah, there you go.
Yep. So, yeah. So getting that for Sauce compared to that, I mean, that feels like a great value for us.
Do you have much of an opinion on, I guess at the moment, a lot of Carlton fans are not too happy thinking, well, okay, the contract value equals band one. This arbitrary amalgamation that the AFL have in their system that equals band one or band two is saying, well, because he's the age that he is, regardless of how long a contract he's signed, that means it's not band one.
Yeah. I'm not opinionated enough on this. I think that any measures about this need to be objective. And it sounds like there is some objectivity and some subjectivity, which to me doesn't feel like the way that it should be.
Yeah. It's hard for me on this because I think, one, I don't like compensation. I wish it didn't exist. So I'm kind of torn on that.
That's a whole nother part of this, which is, yeah, I agree.
And then the current compensation model, I think, is so broken and isn't the correct way to do it when you see the value of some players and the high draft picks and then some other players who are, better because of where their team finished. And I get that the whole point of the compensation is meant to be in this circumstance, which I agree with, is, well, if West Coast are really bad and they lose their captain, they deserve something in return in this system that's quite high, which gets them pick 2. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. You're going to have this compensation and it helps a struggling team. Beautiful. And then I think in our circumstance, you could be like, well, if we're losing Sauce, he's probably not worth that pick. So you shouldn't be too unhappy if it's not a pick 10. But that's kind of where in my mind I'm going, well, if we're going to play this dodgy model that doesn't really make sense, and you kind of throw into it this, if 850K of a certain age and a certain contract equals band 1, what the hell is the deconing contract then? Because if he's 1.8, that's double what Oscar Allen is getting paid. And more of these big money contracts are going to get thrown around. I feel like we need to change that banding. Would not surprise me if Carlton are potentially lobbying and discussing with the AFL saying, well, look, We understand that Jack right now won't trigger that. He'll be end of round 1. But when you look at the discrepancy between what band 1 is and decoding's double that, maybe we can find a way to structure those together and strong arm the AFL into giving us more picks, which whether it's fair or not, whether it should be done, probably shouldn't. But if I'm a biased Carlton supporter, which I am, let's try and get these bigger picks in. Let's see if that can be done. Because it does feel strange that, you know, if another team was to lose a player for 2 million, where they finish on the ladder, it means that they're not getting as much of a pick. It doesn't.
Yeah.
The value doesn't line up to me.
And
we're also not doing that well anyway, so maybe we do need to be compensated with this loss of two
actually
for 2.5 million.
Yeah, I take it back. This isn't good. We need more. I was gonna make that point. Like, we should be using our platform to fuel the Carlton nuffiness. You know, we shouldn't try and be too unbiased on it. But yeah, I think if I looked at this from another club's perspective, and Jack Silvani was leaving their club for this, and they're getting pick 10, and that was pushing our pick down, I'd be like, come on,
ropeable.
Come on now. Yeah.
I think,
we'll take it.
Yeah, an end of round 1 comp for JSOS. I think it's the best scenario and probably the best club he could land to not make me as salty. And like you said, it's kind of funny. Back with his dad, St Kilda finally land a father-son, has all the memes written all over it. Quite funny. But let's move on and let's talk about something maybe a bit more interesting. Really keen to get your thoughts on this, and everyone that's watching this as well. If you're on YouTube, drop your thoughts to everything we're covering in the comments below in audio form at Navy Blue Corner on the socials. Vossy has been out and about for the first time in a long time, doing the media rounds, which is a bit of a change, not something I maybe anticipated, and feels like there's a bit of a change in messaging, in tone that I'm intrigued to find out more from you, because from these interviews, I guess overall, what did you kind of make of what he spoke about? And then was there anything you felt you could take away from them? What were your kind of key takeaways? And did you feel a bit of a shift in the tone and the way that he's been speaking?
Yeah. Did I feel a shift? Absolutely. A recurring plot line of this podcast is my exasperation with his press conferences post-game and how we analyze them for no reason, in my opinion, because it's just packed full of cliches and that kind of thing. And then you watch some other coaches, like Chris Scott comes to mind, and how he handles questions in a way that he shows that he's thought through it before. He's direct enough to show the members and the people what he really thinks, while also not revealing the secrets. And I respect that about a coach like him. That's what I'm feeling in Vossy, for example, in the last month, where it feels like, and I'm interested for your thoughts, like whether this is something that's come from Graham Wright, triggered from people internally, whether this is something driven by Vossy himself, whether it is, using that no BS attitude. But it's like he's realized that I don't have to just speak in cliches. And if everybody knows something, like the example that keeps coming to mind with me, and again, keen for your opinions on this, how he addressed the Elijah situation in that interview. Everybody knows at least the high level of what's going on. There was no need, in my opinion, for him to go with cliches. He was just like, yep. Direct. These are the things. When have we ever seen that from him? So refreshing.
Refreshing is the word I would definitely be using. And look, I understand a lot of people's thinking on this. A lot will be saying it's just words, it means nothing. I'm sick of hearing different things and rhetoric out of the club, and that's absolutely fair.
Agreed.
I think from me, when I've been so vocal on Vossy, just talk to us, talk to the fans, stop the bullshit, stop the fluff. Stop only acting like when you're talking to these reporters, you're trying to win this battle and give them nothing. I want to be, particularly right now, like I think I said on one of the episodes previously, I need to be sold on what's going on. I need to be sold on you being here right now and taking us forward, particularly with all this change happening right now. I want to be a part of this journey. So allow me to, one, talk to me and then take me on this journey. I felt like I was getting that a lot more from this. The rhetoric was, like you said, it was a lot more direct. And it'll be interesting to know, and I guess we might never know, but where this did come from. I was going to ask you the same thing. Do you think this was Graham Wright's come in, they've set this plan of we need to talk like this at this football club, or whether it was Vossy saying, look, if you'll keep me around, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of towing the company line, saying the same nonsense. If I go out, I'm going to do it on my terms and I'm going to say how I want to speak.
Yeah.
And I feel like it might be a bit of both, to be honest.
Me too.
I don't think you can get something different out of someone and it not be a part of them, if that makes sense. It's hard to lie and be someone you're not. And so I feel like there is a part of Vossy that wants to be like this. And maybe Graham Wright is being able to channel that correctly. But regardless, if this is the Vossy we're getting, it's a lot easier for me to buy in at times. And evidently what happens on the field is going to sell it completely. But I need to hear what I heard from Vossy there, where he's telling me directly what's going on, what he's unhappy with, what needs to get better, and it just not feel the way it has in every single press conference this year.
So different. I agree. Yeah, there's so many different ways we could go with this. It just felt so black and white, so many different areas. I love when he talks in specifics, not being so general. And like I said, the cliches, just so many cliches that we've seen through his time, and it really feels like he's put them away. And to the people that are sick of the talk and make comments about that, which I fully empathize with, and I feel that too. But unfortunately, it's the start of September, and all we can really get right now is the talk. So that's why I'm gonna be on board, because we were out on. I mean, maybe you still are, but we were pretty out on Vossy for a while. So I want to believe, and things like this, help rebuild the trust, I guess.
It's for once they kind of went on the front foot and they came out and said, well, let's just talk. Let's have some discussions. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it happens because I'm very Carlton focused, but have you seen any other coach of a team that didn't make finals really come out and have this many sort of interviews? No. And I think it kind of goes to my next question that I want to ask you. And maybe this is being a little bit more of that conspiracy minded, but feels like there is a bit of a new catchphrase around Carlton at the moment. There's this no BS that Sammy Walsh coined. And then also I've seen sort of Carlton comes first be a bit of a phrase that's thrown around a little bit recently. So skeptically, I think, it feels like, the change that's happening in this negative situation we find ourselves in, not only the on-field performance was horrific, but there's mass changes everywhere. Key players are leaving, some wanting to leave. It does seem like maybe we're trying to control and shift this narrative towards a bit more of an us v them kind of mentality. And this, we're better off with those that want to stay. And also almost, I guess, with that Carlton first, it being getting on that front foot of, well, any unpopular decision that may get made, we're making it Carlton first. And this is...
I was going to make that point.
That's the kind of rhetoric that's going on to sell us this dream. So I just wanted to get your perspective on how you sort of see this shift and what you sort of make with the reasoning and rationale behind it, and what maybe it could bring for us moving forward.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to make that. I was thinking of making that point as you were speaking. It does frame these things in the right way, I guess, in terms of framing it in a positive way that, if you're not in, if you're not all in, then we don't want you here, which, I agree. I'm into that. I'm into that as a mindset. That's how it should have always been. And the fans want it to be the club first. Absolutely. There isn't, who would have thought that a Silvani would leave Carlton after 10 years of being at the club? That feels just insane and blasphemous. And it truly is, no player is bigger than the club and that kind of thing. And you and I have said that on this show, we have personal connections to all of these players that play for us in a different way, but nothing can get in the way of us winning that number 17.
Yeah. And I'd say probably where it sits with me at the moment is, there's that little part that thinks it's all PR led in the sense of let's get behind it before it becomes a thing. But I think regardless, we've had these kind of PR catchphrases previously. And I think the biggest one recently was stronger together, which you probably can't push too much now if all these players are leaving. It doesn't sort of hit right in that way. But even when that came out, I know a lot of people loved it. It still felt very, I didn't have that connection to it, I guess, as much. It felt very much like a fake sort of catch cry, like stronger together. Yes, I'm going to sell the t-shirts, and it felt a bit blasé. It didn't resonate with me. And I feel like this more sort of no BS and the tonality shift of what's happening, at least in this short sort of sample size at the moment, that resonates more with me of what I want Carlton to be. This a bit more unapologetically, well, if you're not in, get stuff. This is us. We're moving forward. We are us. Everyone else outside of Carlton hates us. So let's actually embrace what we are and be that aggressor.
Yep.
And if that's the identity we're kind of moving forward with a Graham Wright and, a Chris Davies coming in, then that's what aligns with me. That's what aligns with how I saw Michael Voss, the player, what I thought the coach was.
Yep.
That I can start to get behind if that's the messaging.
Yep. Totally. I have nothing to add to that. I agree.
Well, moving on to that man I just name dropped in Chris Davies, we finally announced a new head of football. He's been, serving as Port Adelaide's footy boss for the past 11 years, comes in with big reputation in the industry as one of the best footy bosses in the caper. I guess, Lockie, what are your thoughts and what did you make of this move? It is a hard one, I think, for us to talk about. What necessarily does a footy boss do? How much did he do? How good is he? They're hard to answer, but just your sort of
100%.
overall thinking and thoughts around this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, first of all, I hadn't really thought about this till this moment. It's great to me that's done now, that we've got our guy and they're in, and it's the 4th of September right now, and, they're getting to work on what the future is going to look like. Whereas other clubs are kind of spinning their wheels a little bit on calls like this. So that's a positive, regardless of Chris. Know very little about him, and you make the great point that the success of a club when it was there is down to so many factors. But the facts, I guess, are that while he's been at Port, they were a very competitive team pretty much every year. Never made a grand final, but were always kind of at the pointy end until this last year. And people talk about the Hinckley Carr handover and all of that, and whether that was the right strategy or not. I don't necessarily have an opinion on that. But I think people saying that Port's demise this year being solely down to that and that decision making, I think that's a poor way of thinking, regardless of Chris choosing to come to us or not.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point you raise, and I think I agree in the sake that, well, we've all kind of backed in Graham Wright to be the savior in a way, and
I have.
This is a decision that he has obviously been a big part of, and any time you kind of hear, oh, this is a big get for Carlton in that space for the people who kind of know it, you do get a bit excited, but I think I do clearly have some concerns that you kind of touched on there, and that's just it's hard to quantify because he may be genuinely the best footy boss in the business, but my concern is around us bringing in people from winning cultures. And, no disrespect to Chris, no disrespect to Port Adelaide, but is playing finals for that many seasons and not really going on with it, is that good enough? Is that success? And I think it's more that broader thing of looking at the rest of the football department as well and who we seem to bring in. We're not picking off the best from the teams that win the flags. We're not getting them from those stronger clubs like a Geelong, like a Hawthorn, like a Sydney. It doesn't seem to happen. And I guess I kind of wanted to go through a few names in this because I brought examples, because I feel like if I'm making this argument, I have to bring more to it, which is, let's just look at the coaching staff. You've got Hamill. We got him from St Kilda. Tim Clark was at Carlton, was at Gold Coast. Jordan Russell was at the Dogs. Ash Hansen was at the Dogs. Even Vossi was at Brisbane when they then turned really poorly under his leadership, and then at Port. It feels like our only hirings of that kind of more stronger winning culture have been Cookie and now Graham Wright. I know it might mean absolutely nothing, but it just feels like something we're missing. Also, you look at the list, you can say that where are the winners? Where is that winning culture? Who knows the standards and what it takes to be that successful team, have that longevity, win premierships? I think I'm just slightly cautious on this one.
Yeah.
Because, again, we're bringing someone into a high position that hasn't necessarily done it. And we've spoken about either getting the best in the business that's done it or who's the next best. And it feels like Chris Davies is, at least from a winning point of view, he's kind of in the middle of that. Been at a place for 11 years, bought finals but no flag. And he's not necessarily the next big star because he's been in the job for 11 years. So it's just there's a bit of a cautious approach with this, but I'm intrigued. I think it is more positive than negative, however.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get that. My mind, unfortunately, goes the other way, which is like where you do go after the best in the business or the people that have gone all the way, e.g. Mick Malthouse, e.g. Clarkson to save North Melbourne, like best coach in the AFL, apparently. Like, how's that going down there? So I agree with you. I agree with you that to an extent, but it's just so hard because these are such massive organizations with so many factors. And to your point, when you started talking about this, it's hard to pin it just on one person. I mean, I don't know Port's history that well, but I would assume that a couple of these prelims, they would have got pretty close.
I think to your point as well, like they are hard to win. So is what we need someone who can deliver a football program that at a bare minimum can get you finals most years and consistently play at a high enough level where I think we've spoken about that quite often. If you're in and around for, 10 years, surely one of those years you can hit. You just need everything to go right. And that's kind of what we're wanting more than anything. Like we had the high of a prelim and then it seems to have just fallen completely. If you had given me 5 or 6 years of prelims, I'd be a bit more happy than I am right now. And I know obviously I want that full success, but
I know
at least at a bare minimum, I want to be playing finals footy in there with a chance, thinking this football club can do it every single year. And currently I don't have that belief. Maybe that's what he's been able to do and instill at Port Adelaide. Do you think that there's any worry that I brought up a few weeks ago of this? It's another guy that has a strong relationship with Voss, or is that a positive?
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's interesting, that part. I don't know. I guess there's a lot of factors you could look at there. We know that Vossi has got 1 year left and they haven't backed him in necessarily beyond that. When in Chris Davies' statement, he mentioned that like the vision that Wright presented to him was he saw that and he was on board. God, how do we get a hold of that? You would think that Matt, correct me if you disagree, but you'd think that he wouldn't take this role if he thought that what they're doing, we're doing for next year with Vossi was wrong.
Yeah. And it also kind of makes me think, and even though I've kind of petitioned for this, I guess, point of view a little bit, I'll always kind of devil's advocate it. And part of that is, well, we don't even know their relationship. Obviously, it's good enough that he's come over, but maybe there's a part of him that was always like, you're not the coach. I see your deficiencies. I don't truly believe you are. We don't know. He might be his biggest yes man ever. We genuinely have zero idea on what their relationship is. Maybe it gets the best out of him, but I don't think Graham Wright would have made this decision as we brought him in simply to try and get the best out of Voss and hope it works for a year. And if it doesn't work, well, we don't believe Chris Davies is good enough, but he was just there for Voss. And if it all falls apart, then he has to go too. I just, that decision would not have been made. So I'm
No, I
excited to
completely
see
agree.
where it goes. And at least we've gone this time. Someone who has experience in it rather than someone who hasn't. Maybe that's the thing that we do need as well.
I'm so excited.
Who knows?
Oh, this is
I love
great.
the change.
On to the
But
next.
speaking of change, mate, this is, I guess, there's an exciting component to it. There's a sad component to it. Much like the media, we're probably going to have to talk about this every single week. So let's try and find different avenues to discuss it. But Charlie Curnow is the name on everyone's lips. Clearly, he wants out. I think that is very obvious now. The club have said he's not for sale. I gather that's a bit of posturing that, well, if you give us a good enough deal, let's talk. But he's a contracted player. We're not just going to be giving up one of the best players in the competition for nothing. So where does it all kind of sit for you at the moment, Lockie? Do you think it's more likely to happen than not? Kind of keen to get a bit of a vibe check on this.
Just to double down on your point, absolutely no reason for Vossy to say, yeah, give us a call. Give us a call and shoot us your best offer and we'll, so absolutely love how Vossy handled that, like in the King Corns interview. This was the last question I thought you in our pre-production chat, wasn't it? I think I would just ever so slightly lean towards him staying rather than going for next year. I would be incredibly surprised if he played out his contract with us, but something tells me there's going to be a lot of change. Well, we know that there's already been going to be a couple of definites, probably more. Yeah, if I had to just flip a coin, I'd say that he would stay, but I'm not looking at that as doom and gloom. I'm looking at the potential positives there. Also, just quietly, do you know how many games he's played?
For us?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I couldn't tell you the exact amount. It's over 100 though, isn't it?
149.
Oh no, if they change the father-son like I suggested. Oh no, Lockie, this is...
Delete that. Delete that father-son bit.
Just quickly, I need to bring that back up because I buried that so late in last week's episode. I think I've got the greatest way to solve the father-son if we need to make changes. So apologies to run back over this, but I also forgot a key component of this, which makes the rule way more fun. So basically, I was saying if we have to change this, let's not make it a lockout. Ridiculous. Let's actually change the bidding of it. So it's basically a system of, it's either if a bid falls in the first round, you have to use a first rounder or an equivalent points close enough. You can make it a way that teams don't trade out of their first round picks and bundle up all the second rounders. They have to use the main thing. But to appease teams like St. Kilda, although they've just got a father-son, so I don't know why they're complaining, to appease the disgruntled people so then we can just move on and enjoy the father-son for what it is. And the AFL can sit there happily saying, beautiful, everyone's stoked. I was saying, let's up the amount of games to either 150 or 200. That way, if you're keeping the father-son, it's only legends of the football club, people who are ingrained into it, and then their sons can play as well. Because I think if you're looking at who's played 100 games for clubs, the way things are going, more games are kind of being played. There's probably going to be some scrubs that are running around. Maybe the sons are actually good, but it's like, okay, your dad wasn't that good. How did he play 100 games for that club? This isn't legacy. Whereas 150, 200, all of a sudden, Cody Walker's still there. Camporellis are still there. The Dacosses are still running around. Ashcrofts, legends of the football club. And I also wanted to throw in this little fun part that, screw it, let's also say if you've won a premiership, because there might be some players that maybe played 120 games, but they've won 4 flags. And it feels a bit disrespectful that maybe their sons can't play. I also think it'd be really funny if, like, a player has only played 5 games, they've played a flag, and their son all of a sudden gets to play for that club. It's funny, but also a premiership is the highest glory, the highest legacy. I feel like there's something in that'd just be good for the sentiment of you're only getting the best fathers, but also the funniest potential father-sons of like, oh my God, this bloke's played 10 games. He's won a flag. I don't even know who he is. His son's a Jet. He's playing for the Swans. This is classic.
Well, you need to find the best example of that, which is the best. I can see you typing for those.
Yeah, let me see how many games this
listening
man's
and not
played,
watching.
because this could be the greatest one.
We
Yeah,
need
so, mate,
yeah.
one of the greatest could be like Shane Biggs, who, no disrespect to the great man, played 57 games for the Dogs, but he's a premiership player. And all of a sudden, Shane Biggs' son can get to the Dogs. That's funny.
Okay, well, Ian, if Charlie Curnow leaves us and he goes and plays 2 seasons in Sydney and then 2 seasons in Geelong and retires, would you be happy? Would you be saying, yep, he didn't meet the criteria?
Well, I don't know if he does then, because he doesn't hit 150. And is he a true Carlton legend if he's left the way he's currently potentially leaving? Is that a legacy? I don't know if it is, Lockie. I'm not sure it is. I think if he played that 150, that's another season. Maybe it is.
Okay. Oh, I mean, I think there's a lot in that. It's funnier than the current system and better than the current system.
Yeah. Someone's always going to miss out.
Who wins?
Whatever you make the games, always going to miss out.
Yeah, for sure. And we had a quick look, and people in the comments let us know if we missed one, but we had a look at like who then would have missed out between the 100 games and 150, and there's very few like in kind of legends. Like it seems like a lot of those players, they end up playing 150, 200 anyway.
And I think those that we discussed that maybe sat between 100 and 150 who wouldn't have fit that criteria of being father-son for games had won premierships that we were like, that's the name that should be there. Yeah. They won a premiership, so it counts. And I think that's the bigger thing here. It's the legacy of the father-son. But going back to Charlie, because I feel like I've digressed a little bit there. This is a bad analogy, so apologies. But I think if we're both standing on a seesaw, let's say we're not sitting, we're standing on it, because you're only just one side in the he's going to stay. I'm probably the exact level side on the opposite, saying I think at this stage he goes for me. So we're kind of balancing out that seesaw currently. It'll be very interesting. It does have almost that sensation of he plays for us next year and then goes in the season after. It gives me those vibes as well, like you alluded to.
Gut feel. But
I wanted to talk a little bit about the media narrative as well, because this is always something quite funny when this is spoken about.
Yeah.
Do you find it funny that a few months ago, all the talk around Carlton was for them to win a flag, for Carlton to be better, to improve? What they need to do, Lockie, they need to trade a star player and bring in something, rejuvenate the list. Now, I understand it's maybe not under the circumstances of us wanting to do it, but now a star wants to be traded in Charlie Curnow, and the media narrative is not, this is exactly what Carlton need, trade that A-grader, bring in a plethora of picks or players, bang, here we go. The media narrative is it's an absolute disaster to lose him. The club is in free fall, Lockie. It is an absolute shit show. What do you kind of make of that narrative in that sense of they were saying we needed to do it, now we might be doing it, and they're saying it's the worst possible thing ever?
For sure. It's the same energy as they need to trade Sam Walsh and get some runners in, some outside players. It's like, okay. Or Carlton need more stars, so trade Walsh to do that. Okay. That's one of our stars. I mean, oh God. Where do you even start with that stuff? Like I don't even know. It is interesting seeing, I guess, how people value certain players and valuing stars for stars versus a star for mid players and some picks, stars for a whole bunch of picks and all that, those kind of things. I mean, there is just that much nonsense out there right now, which I've just spent the whole week addressing, and now I'm on mic and I'm like, I'm just tired of it.
I was definitely giggling to myself when I had that realization of, hang on a minute, they were telling us this is what we need to do. Now all of a sudden it's the worst move possible. It's just great stuff. But with the murmurs now, I guess, coming out that Sydney seem in the hot seat. They seem in the right prized position to get Charlie, except for the fact that they're not trading any of their stars. And it's, okay, we can't have any of these untouchables. It looks like it's, Goulden's not happening. It's just not happening. So do you think a trade
we so sucked into this?
My question off the back of this, though, Lockie, is then, do you still think a trade can happen? Because we've said for the past few weeks on this podcast that we need to bring in a star. We're not doing for picks. If Sydney aren't giving a star, how can this kind of get done? The journalists seem to think that maybe it gets done via multi-team trade. Maybe if they're not offering the star comes in someone else. Do you think another club could offer anything that makes us say yes? I'm intrigued to know where you kind of sit on a deal actually getting done and how that could happen.
Well, I definitely think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible that a deal can get done that us as fans would celebrate. Why is there such hypocrisy over, like, Vossy saying we would not take calls on Charlie and everyone going, oh, well, he has to say that. Like, of course that they would, which is my opinion. But then if Sydney, the murmurs are that they wouldn't trade Goulden, it's like, well, that must be true.
You're not wrong.
You're not wrong. Do we hear ourselves? This is how it works. It's the 4th of September again. The trade period is not near. Why on earth would Sydney right now go out there and say, yeah, I mean, we could trade one of our stars. Of course, they're going to be like, we'll give you Florent and McLean and whatever. Just, I know I'm like being funny on this, but like, fucking hell. Like, it's so, how are we so blindly hypocritical of things like this? You can't believe anything right now.
Oh, I agree. But if we, for the sake of this hypothetical, Lockie, that I want to take you down, if Sydney aren't trading a star, they're saying we want him, not happening. Okay. Can a trade be done? Is there any world that enough first round picks you'd accept, high enough picks? Do you think there's a way another club could get involved? Is there, when you're trying to think about this and wrap your head around it, and you're saying, is it picks? Is it a star? What deals are coming to mind for you in this sense? And is there a way it can get done?
Okay, I understand. I'll play ball with that. To say, and again, to add the context to the situation, of course, we have to consider that the other option is Curnow stays, and everyone's saying, making this same assumption that, oh, well, he wouldn't kick up a stink if he had to play another year. Like, he would still be a positive culture within the club. Not guaranteed at all. So we for that reason, we have to be open to what other moves could look like. I feel like there's been a lot of nonsense on tradies recently, but I sent you the deal that Sam was talking about, which resonated with me, where players like Haywood and Papley and maybe a pick using that pick with our other things to get maybe another player in from another club. Yes, it would change the look of our forward line, and it would probably mean that we need to change the way that we play to them, not just trying to bomb it in and take contested marks the whole time. But I'm interested in that. Like, that's two really good players who we've been interested in the past. It would change the look of our forward line. It would mean that Harry's the centerpiece. It goes back again to the whole Charlie and Harry, whether they can work together thing. A few different ideas out there, but I guess what the main point is that, yes, I think there's players that aren't A graders that I think could satisfy it if bundled enough together.
Well, that's the interesting, I think, component of this is, if you told me that trade by itself, I'm probably saying no. Papley's 29, Haywood's good. You get a pick. That's not enough for me to trade Charlie on its own. I'm like, it's an okay trade, but I want overs for a guy like Charlie. But if you can somehow guarantee that the pick we get bundled up with maybe the one we have equals, let's say, for sake of argument, a Butters,
Yes.
which who knows if it could actually happen, whether Port would be interested, whether he would even want to come to us. Well, then if that banks that as well, massive net positive. You get a star midfielder, you get an adequate forward, you get a gun small forward that can hopefully do something for a couple of years or at least teach the next ones coming through. That's a bit more exciting. I'm getting a bit more through the door. So something like that, I think, is where maybe this multi-team aspect can come into it.
Yep.
Name's been thrown around. I want to get your thoughts. Like they've said, what if like a Warner goes to Freo, Curnow goes to Sydney, we get a Luke Jackson. Where does that sit for you? I've seen that be thrown around.
I haven't heard that one. Luke Jackson.
I hate it. I'll be honest. I think it's one of the worst deals for us possible. A ruckman for one of the best key forwards in the game might be the worst trade of all time. I don't think Luke Jackson's anywhere near worth Charlie Curnow in a trade.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't think I just don't think I'd want him regardless, which might be a bold call from me.
Wow. That is bold.
Yeah.
You're stoked with Pitto, or you're stoked with...
I think it's the sense of like in a trade, it's like, well, what else could you give me? That's not the capital I want to bring in. I don't necessarily want to bring in a star, quote unquote, ruckman for a Curnow.
Yeah.
Like that's not the player I want. If you give me picks, if you give me like that, I don't think that fixes the hole I'm wanting to fix.
Yeah.
Even though we're losing
feels
to Koning. Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't see Warner going anywhere this year, surely. After he re-signed this year as well. So that one doesn't resonate.
But I've got some fun ones that I've made up, Lockie, because they're talking about multi-team trade. So of course, let me know if this is ridiculous, because sometimes I feel like I can get biased. So let me workshop these. Who says no? The typical
I'm going to be so unbiased.
Social media post. So I'm thinking, look, Sydney, let's say Sydney is still involved in this. They want him.
Yep.
We need to get some things going here. What does this trade look like? If you need me to go back over it, let me know, because there's a bit going on.
Is this a mega trade?
Not too mega trade. I've tried to simplify it for these reasons. So if you're saying, I need to trade third rounders with you, shut up. Not happening. We're not getting that complex. But Carlton give Curnow and a future second. They receive Swans future first, Hayward, and Flanders. Now I'll go through the other teams. So that would mean Sydney give Hayward, pick 9, a future first for Curnow and a future second. That means Gold Coast give Flanders, they receive pick 9. Now I understand that the harder part of this is Gold Coast don't necessarily need picks this year.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of hard thing. But I know in this world where Flanders is potentially leaving, quote unquote, we're interested, St. Kilda are interested. I think on face value for Flanders, pick 9 is about right. So it'd be interesting how that works with their points and sort of matching academies. But I think as far as what a player's worth, who could potentially go somewhere, I quite like that for all teams. Give me your thoughts.
Okay. Well, I think Flanders warrants some discussion. Where would you, let's say that we get him. Where's he playing?
He's definitely getting a fair bit of midfield minutes for me, rotating into another position. Like I think you could be a bit more versatile in Walsh plays wing and midfield. Flanders plays midfield and anywhere else he wants to play. You can start to get a bit more dynamic in the middle, which I think we need those kind of heavy rotations. Cripps can maybe play a little bit more forward.
Yeah.
A little bit more unpredictability, I think, is what I'm after.
Yeah, okay.
Where do you see him playing?
It's why I struggle a little bit of seeing him come to us. I don't see it as clearly about him being like part of our midfield group that takes us to the promised land. Like, I'm just not convinced on him. Like, yeah, obviously he was an absolute pig of halfback, as many kind of mid players have shown that been able to do. To know the age profile is obviously better. Yeah. But you said pick 9 for him as well. That, as in Gold Coast would get 9. That feels high, just on gut.
Yeah, well, that was, I guess that's Sydney's pick right now. So that would be, it might push out to 10 once the TDK compo pick comes into it and everything else comes into it. And again, I think the hard part of that, if everyone else is happy, I think Sydney giving up 2 first rounders, Haywood for Curnow and a second, I think that feels fair value.
I think that's around the mark.
I think us getting a future first, Flanders, Haywood for Curnow in a second feels value to me. Like, that feels pretty even. Okay. I think the Flanders one, the hard thing there is I think pick 9 it's probably slightly high, but I think they're probably a little bit more begrudging to maybe let Flanders go so it works. The bigger part of that would be, do they need the draft pick?
Yeah.
Because of what they're up to. But then what do you do if they do get rid of Flanders? What do you bring in? Because I don't think the Saints will be giving you a player. We probably won't be giving you a player. It kind of gets a bit murky there in that sense.
Do you think, so I try and think about this in a few different angles, like next year and then obviously the future as well. Do you think that we're a better team next year with, I guess, Curnow and, insert whoever the other player would be in the side, or Haywood and Flanders in the team?
It's difficult, and that's maybe where there could still need to be some other players coming in around that to fill the hole. But I mean, in your sense, when you were saying Haywood and Papley,
I know,
adding to that midfield and bringing in a bit of a closer to a star in Flanders excites me more than a Papley in that sense. Younger, I think I look at that midfield and I think, well, look at Cripps, look at Hewitt and their age profile. Chera, is he truly in our best team? What does his fitness and body look like? If you look at what's coming through, we'd hope Jagger can evolve and be a player and hopefully doesn't have those knee issues. You've got Walsh. You've got, then potentially then got Flanders through there, Cody Walker through there. Is that more exciting? Potentially. I think I was just trying to look for who are maybe closer to that star available for a trade, at least rumored. And can you get a deal that kind of satisfies all parties? I think that'd be closer to what I'm after, and with that 4-9. But you could throw maybe a different key forward in there from Sydney if that appeased you more. If you'd prefer a McLean in there over a Haywood.
I don't know. For some reason, and I'm not the biggest Gold Coast watcher, I think maybe we're overvaluing Flanders a bit. Or not we. The general AFL landscape is. Like, looking at our midfield and trying to think, like, what's our best midfield, like, even a year from now. If someone's going to be coming in, they either need to be a top gun to me now or someone with really high ceiling. I just don't see the ceiling with him.
Yeah, see, I just think with Flanders, why I'm, I guess, quite pro on him is I just feel like he has what we don't have, in the sense of he can go forward and kick goals. He has a bit more pace. He's a bit more of that flashier, outside running kind of midfielder. When you look at what else is coming through, we're a bit stagnant in there, and I just feel like he's the type of player that kind of pushes us forward. It's the one we don't have in that sense. Kicked, 11 goals this year, 11 goals the year before. I know they're not necessarily super, super high numbers, but I feel like he is that more forward front half player at his best. But I've got another one if that didn't excite you too much. Because, look, I think this one is way less realistic because I don't think Butters will leave this year. And I also don't think if he is leaving, he will come to us. However, I've heard he has a good relationship with Chris Davies. Is there a chance we snag Ken in some sort of role who he also loves dearly?
That'd be so funny.
So let's try and say, okay, in this fantasy world of Butters is available and would be open to getting to Carlton, is this a deal that satisfies all parties?
Go on.
Need to know your thoughts. So Carlton, we give up Curnow and we give up the TDK compo pick. In this world, the sauce pick is enough to match the Dean. We'll figure out the points elsewhere. So don't worry about that. We're still getting Dean in the door. So we give away Curnow, we give away, I think it's pick 9 would happen for the TDK compo pick. We get Butters, McLean, and Sydney's future first round pick. So we swap pick 9 this year for a future first, and it's Curnow for Butters and McLean. Okay? Now, Sydney give up. Obviously, they're getting Curnow, and that's all they're getting. They're giving up a future first pick, what is their first this year in pick 10, and McLean for Curnow.
2 first-round picks and McLean, just to clarify.
Yes.
Yep.
This year, next year, McLean for Curnow. And then Port Adelaide, they lose Zach Butters, but they get pick 9 and pick 10.
It's pretty good.
Now,
pretty good.
The hard thing is convincing Butters. The hard thing is, do Port say, well, he's not out of contract this year. He's a restricted free agent next year. We're probably still going to get 2 first as value if we made a trade next year. We've got a year to convince him to stay. I think Port aren't going to trade Butters this window for that sake. They'll always they'll back in. We can convince him in a year. But in this scenario, I feel like this is even for all parties.
Honestly, if I had to say which one of those is getting the best deal in that, it's us. I think, who do you think is more valuable, Butters or Curnow, just comparing them?
I think Curnow, for the sake of forwards, are harder to... I think it's just because of the forward component. I think key forwards are so hard to get. Midfielders are a bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's Butters. With 4 years younger, I think 3 or 4 years younger. Best and fairest winner can be almost the best. I mean, obviously Curnow's elite.
And I think in this scenario, there's also that component of Butters is out of contract next year, so you're looking to cash in on value, whereas Curnow is contracted long term. So that sort of evens things a bit in there. But Curnow for Butters and McLean and switching first round picks in a year is that maybe potentially shores up next year. Maybe we make another trade with that Sydney Swans future pick instead. Who knows? But I think in this instance, a Hayward would be too much for Sydney to maybe give up. Maybe it's not. Maybe Hayward works better. But in this scenario, I just felt like maybe that was a bit too much. And I went lower a little bit in the McLean stakes.
Yep. No, I honestly think it's in the ballpark. You have to think about where Port are. Like, what are they thinking right now? Do they think they're going to be competing in the next couple of years? From my outside perspective, no. So, and like you said, do you cash in now? Do you cash in now?
And I guess you're looking at the other teams who are interested, the Doggies, in a sense. What does their draft pick situation look like? Are they going to be able... Maybe they can find 2 top 10 picks next year, but I probably wouldn't have them finishing in the bottom 10. So I don't think that is going to happen. So them owning one from their own pick. Who else is interested? Hawthorn, they're not going to have that pick. So this could be potentially the best and highest draft picks that they maybe will be able to have in picks 9 and 10. And look, if maybe that's not enough to convince, is there a way of now you can trade a few more years in advance? So does one of our first rounders in a few more years get involved in this for what would it be? A 2027, we give a first, we get a second and third back or something.
Yeah.
Maybe that appeases in
That feels
this
like
world.
it's evening it a bit more.
Now all of a sudden you go, okay, if that prizes Butters out, I'm excited to do that right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's an interesting equation. I think that obviously I'd be a bit more excited about.
Oh my God, imagine.
But yeah, at least if you want to sell the Flanders one, we still might be able to then use that first round pick that we get from De Koning in the draft.
Yep.
Whereas in the Butter scenario,
Correct.
that disappears.
Yeah. I hear. Yep.
Yeah, so those are some fun scenarios. If you've got any wacky, wild mega trades with a third party, fourth party, let's make it all 18 teams. Why not? Drop them in the comments here on YouTube, because I think that's the more fun part about the trade period. And I wish the media would talk more about this. I went on a big rant before we started recording, but I feel like just the coverage would be so much better if instead of, Charlie's gone for a coffee this morning. He looked upset when I walked past him on the street, and that just being this continual news cycle.
Yeah.
I heard we keep talking about Charlie. Why are we talking about Charlie? Because you keep talking about him, and instead focused more on, well, okay, how can a deal get done? Let's throw up actual hypotheticals that aren't Ollie Florent and a future pick, because I don't know why the Herald Sun think Ollie Florent is. Do they have like stocks in him? I don't get it. I like Ollie Florent, but he's not equivalent to Charlie Curnow, and the more we keep saying it does not mean it equals that. But if they instead were on a panel show and were throwing these scenarios together and trying to figure out how Sydney could get it done, I would actually tune into these shows. But they don't do it. Trade Radio spends 3 months not throwing out actual hypothetical trade scenarios, which should be their entire reason for existing. But yeah, that's my rant on that, Lockie.
Well said. Well said. I got my rant about that out of the way already, so I'm good. I'm with you.
But speaking of rants and maybe some negativity, Lockie, is it dire, or are things going to be okay? What do you currently think of our situation? I know you seem to be a bit more optimistic, but I want to go a bit deeper in this, because our man, Sam McClure, has gone very bold, which is unsurprising for him. And he said, arguably, and I would say very big on the arguably in this sentence, I'm glad he at least used that word, this is the worst position this footy club has been in since the salary cap scandal. That is what he said. You can feel free to unpack that as well. But clearly, things aren't going swimmingly. We've had a horrific season on field. We've missed the 8. We're losing our top ruckman. We're losing a beloved father-son who became an important key defender for us this year. Potentially losing one of our biggest stars in Charlie Curnow, and he's wanting out. Clearly, we're also not getting linked a lot of fun, exciting players back to us. The situation feels a little bit like it's taking a step back to maybe take a step forward, trade out and lose the experience, maybe rejuvenate the list with some picks, with some youngsters. How do you currently see the situation and how it's going to all play out moving forward? Is it as bad as the media is saying? Is there a way out? Just kind of want to get your perspective on this.
Yeah. Well, addressing that comment, I guess, firstly, I don't think you can take these things as gospel when said in the same sentence as Mason Cox, top 3 ruckman in the league.
Second most important player for Collingwood.
Correct. Based on,
vibes, I guess.
A great game in 2018, I think, was the reasoning. So that's good. So we will just completely disregard that, I think, for the point of this conversation. And yeah, we've been following this club almost as long as he has, because we're a few years younger. But to me, there has been far, far, far worse times in the last 20 years.
We've finished on the bottom a fair few times in that.
Who wins?
I'd reckon any of David Teague's seasons were worse than the position we're currently in. And the list was in a worse position. in those times than it was now. I reckon almost every season, bar like 3, have been worse than this current year since that salary cap scandal. You know what I mean? It's crazy thing to say. Very funny. I had to throw that in there.
No, it's good. So pull me up on this if you feel like this is off. I wish I could remember exactly what you said, but earlier in the episode you said something along the lines of all these players are leaving. And people are saying that. People are making it seem like there is so many players leaving.
It's a mass exodus, Lockie.
Who is the last player to you that left Carlton because they wanted to leave that we were like, this is not good?
It was probably Bryce Gibbs.
Yeah, that was the name that came to mind for me too.
We have pretty much since
9 years,
the rebuild started, we have not until this season lost anyone we didn't really want to get rid of. You could argue Matt Kennedy, but the club were happy to let him go. And really, has he been like, he was had a good year, but if he played for us, would he have given that output? Was he right in our system? I still don't think so. And we got Hoff. People forget we got Hoff. I'm much happier to be in a position to have Hoff than Matt Kennedy right now. Matt Kennedy doesn't make us play finals this year.
Plus the development that Lord got, like God knows how much midfield time Lord would have got if Kennedy was on the list. All those things. So let's agree that it's been maybe 8 years since a player has left the club that we were sad about. Would we be feeling differently about all this if even just one of TDK or Sauce last year came out of contract? Would that change this entire narrative? Now suddenly it's one free agent has left this year, plus Charlie being disgruntled. I know that's kind of like, like a fake scenario, but when you think about like people wanting to say that it's dire and this is a catastrophe, like to me, it just is so normal that there's free agency for a reason. TDK had to take that deal. We now know that Sauce is just a daddy's boy, and Charlie, and Charlie wants to go surfing. Like I know I'm being like, but
I get your point. Like a Ruckman leaving for that coin, so be it. I think Ruckman, you can find one. Every club that has won the flag has pretty much found a Ruckman. So I don't think losing the star is as bad as it possibly could be positionally. Then Sauce isn't ideal. And I think culturally you look at how it looks from the outside, losing, a favorite son, father-son, legacy kind of player makes it a lot worse. If we were losing, as everyone says, Jack Smith, who was kind of injury prone his whole career, played half a good season, there wouldn't be a discussion. In fact, I got to give a shout out to Baggers Chat. I was listening to them the other day and they said he probably wouldn't have been on Carlton's list throughout this entire period if he wasn't Silvani, for the sake that he's had some down years. Would he have been given as much time?
Sure.
I thought it was a pretty valid argument to make. So losing those two, not ideal, not end of the world. Charlie, not ideal, but we're only going to trade him if the deal is kind of in our favor. Therefore, will it be a disaster? If we trade Charlie for 2 first-round picks and Ollie Florin, then, disaster. The walls are falling down at Icon Park. But I just don't think we'll be taking that deal. And what deal we do get is Carlton first, Lockie, so it'll be a good deal. So would it be the end of the world? No. We're not in a great spot, clearly. We're not getting a lot of star players wanting to come to us, and we clearly need to improve. That's kind of one of my issues. Is the coaching amazing? Hasn't been this entire time. Are we going to improve next year? I'm not certain. But is it as dire as it's kind of being put out there? I don't think so. I still believe in a lot of this list, and it'll be interesting now. It's clearly it's not a good thing, and I'm not making excuses. I'm not trying to buy everyone more time, but it's kind of a new iteration at the moment with Chris Davies.
Yep.
I'm interested to see how that plays out.
I was going to make that point because I felt like you were alluding to it. Like, there's all this noise now. It'll be great to come back to this 2 months. Let's get through that period and see how all this actually plays out. And then maybe I will have changed my tone. And it was like, wow, that was a disaster. More players came out. We had to do some things. We traded Charlie for way undervalue. But right now, it just doesn't feel that way to me.
Yeah, it's all an if, clearly. But if this is the thing that regenerates us and allows us to go forward, I think I said earlier in this season, like maybe this is what we needed to have this season where it all fell apart. Because if we had just scraped into the 8 again, clearly the foundations that everything is built on is not strong enough because it's not getting us that premiership.
Yeah.
Being bad enough allows you to make the required changes. So maybe this is a blessing. I think to be negative, which is not necessarily my opinion on it, but I think it's valid because the concern that is still here is we clearly need to make changes, but are we improving enough? You know, the players getting linked to us at the moment are delisted Jack Petrocelli, and out of contract, can't really break into the best 22 at West Coast, Campbell Chesser. A depth option who isn't really in Doggy's best 22, Buku Karmas. Another can't break into his team behind 2 ruckman, Liam Reedy. In isolation, I quite like those moves. I think they're good for depth. I think they're pretty cheap and they help us in certain capacity. Voss even alluded to maybe we cut too thin in the depth area. But does that help our best 23? Does that help us improve truly next season enough to be that premiership team? Does it help us in 2-3 years? I don't think so. You look at our recent business, we've kept things the same, or those we've brought in are mid-season draftees. They're SSP top-ups. They're all players who are playing VFL, overlooked, weren't good enough. Our list is littered with those players, role players. You look at teams like Brisbane, potentially going back-to-back this year, or at least you'd say great season if they don't win the flag, 2-year spell. How good is this? They're not taking a backward step. They're bringing in Annabelle, who's a gun academy player, getting Draper free agency, Allen free agency, potentially getting Ridley. That is a team topping up to go. They could win a flag on the list they currently have. Boy, oh boy, that makes them infinitely times better by bringing those players in. We made a prelim. We backed the same list. We didn't get better. Now, all of a sudden, we're behind the 8 ball. We're worse, and we're not bringing in better players than what we currently have. That's what I'm concerned with. We're expecting growth from within. I get it's hard to attract quality players in our position. We don't have a lot of collateral to trade with. We've at least got that 2 million in the cap to do something with. And again, deep down, maybe this is all something we need, this backward step to go forward, trade out some experience that isn't getting the job done, that culture-wise isn't leading those standards. But I just, for once, why can't we be the team that takes a step forward to step forward? We always seem to take the step back, and then you might be better. We're never that proactive step forward to be better. You know? The last kind of example is, Hawthorn. Oh, we need some key defenders. Oh, we'll just get Battle and Barras. Easy. How good's that? We got our key defenders. Now they need midfielders. They're in a good position to get a Butters, a Merritt, or a Petrarca to sort of top up. Whereas we're clearly needing we've got deficiencies, clearly needing help, and it's you might get a delisted player from West Coast. That's my concern. I want us to be looking for better, and knowing we're out of the 8, we're going to need to improve this squad. The lack of links to anyone who is better than what we have is the concern in our best 23.
Well, I agree with a lot of what you said there. I think that's really great, and it kind of segues into where I think, like from a list perspective and the best 23. We probably won't go into this level of detail today. It's probably for another episode. But if you look, for me, looking at like our best healthy 23, it looks good to me, really good. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, okay, let's say Flanders is a perfect example of this, right? If he comes in to play more midfield right now, Hewitt. I know we're going into detail now, but I just wanted
I like it.
where we've gone. Hewitt can't play anywhere but midfield, right? He's going to win the best and fairest. I think it's pretty fair that he's going to be. That's his role next year. Cripps, we also we like the idea of him potentially playing forward a bit more, but most likely he's going to be a big time midfielder next year. Then it's like, okay, what about guys like Chera? He's also in the prime of his career. Is a player like that causing us problems? Because we need to be, we agree that we need to be working on youth. So Lord needs to be getting midfield time next year. Jagger needs to get some sparing midfield time. So if you bring in a guy like Flanders, who I agree probably does make us better, then what? Like, how does that mix work? I'm worried that we have some players that are too good to be out of the best 23, but not good enough to take us to the next level. And there's those players on a few lines. Akers is probably one, and Akers and Chera are kind of two that really stand out to me in that regard. I've thrown a lot out there to you.
No, I agree with your point, and I think this is kind of it's not necessarily a midfielder that solves the problem. I think Flanders was just a player I sort of threw out there that I definitely like and I think fits at least a need and does, I think, make us better for next season. But you look at our list needs that have been there for quite some time, we haven't really addressed. We still don't have, and I know there's some youth coming through, blah, 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 but the second foil to Jacob Wiedering still never been addressed. I'd throw out the Hawthorn example. They got their guy immediately. That's been a concern since we had Liam Jones, let alone when we then lost Liam Jones. Still never have ever nailed down that second foil to Wiedering. You look at defense. There's still some issues there for me. Sard is nearing the end of his time in the AFL. Hasn't been great. Lockie Cowan, I love. I think he can kind of play everywhere. Outside of that, you can improve in every position. Like Matt Carroll, is he really going to be the guy that takes us forward? There's been some good signs. I'd like to get more games in him, but I want to be better than Matt Carroll next season. You look at who else is there. Ollie Hollands, I don't think that's his best position. We need more run. We need some better defensive capability players that can do a bit of both. I think there's growth there. Clearly now, ruck, we need a player. Wingers, I agree with a guy like Akers. Half forward, we have a plethora of needs in that kind of mid forward, can kick goals, can push up, can create. I think Zach Williams has been good in that role. Elijah, when he's available. Cottrell has been good, but not durable. But I think we need better. And then looking particularly then at small forwards, goal kickers. Who is it? We still haven't really addressed that. So I think as far as looking at opposition teams, and what they've been able to do, they seem to be able to find someone who's disgruntled, make them disgruntled, get them to your football club when you've got a need. Good clubs have a need. They seem to fill it the next year. They find a way. Like the players who are currently available are there because the managers and clubs have been talking to them for years, getting in their ear and making these deals happen. I understand that maybe that small forward hasn't been out there, but I think good teams find them and attract them to their football club and make them need to be there. And so I think that's where, for me, the deficiencies lie that we're just not addressing. And Buku Kamas is great and can help depth. But are we going to go from our ladder position to winning a flag in the next 2 years by just drafting players and bringing in depth? It concerns me when I'm seeing Brisbane, who already have arguably the best list in the comp, and then they're getting an upgrade in ruck, an upgrade in their key forward, and also potentially an upgrade in a third tall in defense. That's concerning. How do you then catch up to that?
I think we're saying the same thing, which is you've thrown another name out there, which I agree with, which is Sard. Sard, Akers, and Chera are all players that we've brought in the last 4 years to fit a need, right?
Yep.
And they're all not doing what we need from them.
Agreed.
So what do we do with them? Do we keep playing them and they underperform? Do we play him in the twos as some of the most expensive, overrated twos players ever, or do we deal them? They're the three options, right?
Yeah. And I think in this case,
otherwise our books are
yeah.
littered with these players.
I agree with you. I think it's a big thing and that's what I'm really excited about this offseason, where I feel like it's the best time to make some of these moves. I feel like Chera, because we re-signed him, is staying. And look, his best is really
I'm
good.
worried about that.
There's just concerns about him and what having him on a long-term deal, like you're saying, stops us from maybe getting a Flanders. Because he's kind of just sitting there as like, you're fine, but are you offering something that, I don't know. I like Chera, but what is his strength in the midfield? He seems to be like a accumulator whose skills are fine, but not elite. He's not a clearance player. He's not a goal scorer. He's not the gun outside. He's not the gun inside. He just kind of sits there. So is he someone who's perfect? And I'll throw this out there now, that if, like, you need to bring in someone, obviously, but if you bring in a Flanders and instead find a way to maybe to get Flanders, hey, you know who would probably love Chera, that needs a midfielder who loves players who he's already brought into football clubs? Go to the Saints. That has sauce written all over it, does it not? And I'm sure he'd love, and you just play it and be like, just like have a conversation, like when you sit down with Sauce that they do trade week and they sort of discuss what players. Start it with like, well, look, we're happy to sort of chat anyone, but the one player we really don't want to lose is just Adam Chera, so we don't want to have it. And then just plant the seed, and Sauce will be like, oh, you know what, that annoy him. We get Chera. And you're like, you've just done exactly what we wanted.
Yes. That is what I'm talking about, though. Like, that's a massive concern for me right now with looking at the list, because this midfield time is precious, and I do not want it to affect developing the future. Like, we need in a couple of years Jagger, Lord, Walker to be there, right? So we need to get the time into
He's
Lord
Ben
and Jagger
there
now.
as well, potentially.
And Campo, right? So this is crucial. And is Chera the longest contracted player with us? He'd be up there.
Yeah, close to it.
That worries me.
I think it's Harry as well.
Harry would be up there. Like, that's something where when you throw names like Flanders out to me, I'm like, yeah, I think that does make us better. But I feel like if we're going to bring in those guys, they need to be like the locked in. They're the guys.
Yeah, him and Harry are 2030. Charlie is 2029. And as I'm looking at it, they're the three longest contracted players. So yeah. No, you raise a really good point. I think I have nothing more to add to that. I think that's absolutely a perfect summation.
All your points I agree with as well. It's like, yeah, we do have those needs. I worry we're losing the flexibility, I guess, because of some of these guys. Yeah. To my point, the guys that we thought were going to be the guys, like Saad, we didn't expect that he would have dropped off like he did this year. Akers. Chera is supposed to be leading this midfield now.
It just hasn't worked out for us. And that's the big, the thing that makes me excited, at least, is that, you know, Graham Wright comes with a reputation, has list management experience. They said, you know, Chris Davies is also going to have a look over the sort of list management stuff and play a hand in that.
Yep.
I feel like we're getting people who are meant to be really good footy brains to all help assist on this. So clearly that's telling me in these little snippets that you're getting from the club that they think that there's issues and they need to try and get the best brains together to fix this, to get us going in the right direction. What is we've done okay until now, but what is the strategy that takes us from just maybe getting finals to sustained top 4 finishes being that club? And that's what I'm really excited for this offseason. But let's get going into it, because the delistings, there's been 3 of them officially, which is never a fun thing to talk about, but they happen. That's footy. We have parted ways with Alex Cincotta, Orazio Fantasia, and Harry Lemmy. I guess we're going to go into the depth chart shortly after discussing these players, where we'll do the keep, trade, delist with everyone left over. But before we do that, I think we need to talk about this. So what did you make of those 3 list changes?
Yeah, I mean, Shinkoda was a little bit of a surprise, I suppose. I think my little summation of all 3, Fantasia, it was a mistake giving him 2 years in the first place. Lemmy, yeah, for some reason couldn't even crack 1 game in his time at the club. So I'm just going to back the club in that he just didn't have it, sadly. So I'm not sad about that one. Yeah, Chincotta, it's kind of he's in the stocker category. He's in the always category of the players that you felt like really like earned his place. And it's a shame it hasn't worked out. But yeah, it's hard to know where his best position is. He's on the older end. I'm not sad about it.
Yeah. Like Fantasia makes sense. He just couldn't get his body right. I liked the pickup at the time for the low cost of it. Just hasn't worked out. Harry Lemmy, like you said, yeah, there's been opportunities for him to come into the side. Him not ever really being a look-in tells me all I need to know. Agree with you. Yeah, Chincotta, you wonder if it's body-related as well. Like, as you said, he's 29, which you sometimes forget talking about him. We all love his energy, everything about him.
He played some great games for us.
When you've had some hip issues, their worries about his body, the age, I think he's a really good guy to have on your list as one of the last spots, because you're kind of getting the role. You're getting 100%, can play a few different positions. I like the versatility. But if they're looking at this list and saying, look, it's you or it's, Billy Wilson maybe getting a game in defense. It's you or Frankie Evans in the forward line. It feels like he's maybe, out of just being not healthy, gone down the pecking order a little bit to some guys who are younger and maybe have that higher ceiling. These are just the tough list decisions players have got to move on, and maybe he's come out of contract at a bad time.
Yep. No, I'm not going to be mad for being ruthless right now.
And I kind of, we haven't spoken about it a lot, but what are your kind of thoughts around Elijah Hollins and being told to look elsewhere for a trade, and what that maybe does for our list going forward? Obviously, I think you have to kind of back the club in culturally and what they're probably trying to do there. With, you don't know what happens behind closed doors and what's led to them saying, look, just play somewhere else. We know his ability, so clearly I think you have to kind of back the club in with that one. But what do you kind of make of it all?
Yeah, obviously, it goes without saying I'm sensitive to the issues, and I won't talk about them and take everything on face value, I guess. You may be surprised at this, and maybe this is going to be one of my worst takes on the Navy Blue Corner ever. But I think he will play for us next year and have a really good year, and then get a new deal. That's my hypothesis.
I'd love that.
Yeah,
I think talent-wise,
maybe it's wishful thinking, but
talent-wise, position, skill set, everything is exactly what we need. And letting him go is really sad as a footballer, because he's the missing link in that mid-forward. And he's shown that when he's out there. So it's a massive hole that we've had for a long time. And it only makes us worse, him not being out there.
Yeah. I'm choosing to believe that Vossi essentially kind of calling him out the other day is a lever to try and get him to like a bit of a final straw move. And I'm just going to hope that it works out. Yeah. We'll see.
Skeptical, but
we'll see. I mean,
I hope that's the case.
Too.
I hope that's the case.
Too, but,
But let's have a look at the depth chart. Let's make this, because this is a really fun thing to do. Now, let's have a bit of a look at what the depth chart was at the start of the season. So if you are listening to this in audio form, maybe head over to the YouTube, because it's a lot easier to digest, but we'll do our best to try and explain it so you can follow along. Navy Blue Corner is the YouTube. It should be linked in the actual show notes anyway to go over there. If it's not, feel free to abuse the absolute everything out of me for not doing my job. But so we had it the start of the season in key defense, general defenders, ruck, mids, wingers, half/general forwards, key forwards, and then small forwards. Those are the categories. Let's start at key defenders and let's discuss this, break it down. So we ranked them. We wanted 3 starters, which were Wiedering, McGovern, Haynes, then Silvani, Young, O'Farrell. Thoughts, Lockie?
It's interesting in hindsight, isn't it? It's
I think
good.
it's valid at the time.
It's valid. I remember us debating that and whether Sauce is in the team or not. Neither of us had him as like a nailed on, but we had him kind of around the mark, which is funny. What's changed? Well, he's gone, and I think Hoff impressed more than you would expect, and Gov's future's unclear. And Haynes overperformed.
Basically, with the depth chart we're about to make, I would like to put on the record here that we'll be still ranking a Silvani, ranking a De Koning, and the delisted players, and even Sam Doherty into this as well. I want to create the team if no one was to leave. That way we can find what our true list holes are. Because if Silvani was our best key defender, and that's where we rank him, I think it's only valid to have that list hole where it is so we truly know what we need to replace. So let's actually, I guess, go through the key defenders. How would you rank them now?
Yeah.
Wiedering's still clear number 1?
Yep. And for the sake of this, we're assuming that everyone's healthy.
Yes, because those who will be able to see on the screen at the moment, Nick Newman and Jagger Smith at the start of the year, we just read them out and they were at the bottom for clarity, but we can see where we would have maybe had them at the start of the year if they were healthy, and then we can see where they are now as well.
Yeah, cool. I guess my gut probably says Silvani second, and then Haynes would be mine.
I back those in, and then where do you still have McGovern as a key defender? Has he switched to a forward? These are things that you can also throw out there, and what would be your ranking? Because I think the way I'm looking at it right now is I'd probably have weirdly O'Farrell as the next guy I would want in, whether he is ability or not.
100%.
And then, if I'm keeping Gov, it's probably him then Young, but that's whether you want to keep Gov as a defender.
I think that's the way.
Okay, now general defenders, we had Sard, Cowan, Hollins, and Boyd as our starters. Then Chincotta, Carroll, Wilson, Charlison, and we've sort of thrown Matt Duffy there. Obviously, the Irishman, we didn't know a lot about him. Still don't know a huge lot, apart from he's a lovely fella. And then Nick Newman, who we sort of blacked out. What did you make of it there? And where would you have had Nick Newman at the start of the year as well?
I guess you would have had him first, right?
Yep, I agree with that statement.
Yeah. It's hard to know what he's gonna come back like. I don't know. For some reason, I'm not as optimistic.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be as optimistic
worries
to slot
me
him into one.
The age worries me a little bit. 32, he'll be 33 by the time the season starts. Coming off an ACL, that has recipe in it for just he is well off it. I hope it's not the case, but it wouldn't shock me if he just is nowhere near the player that he was coming back.
Yeah, I would still bet for him to be second behind Cowan personally.
So is Cowan your number 1 now?
I think he is.
I struggled with this. I had no idea. I was pretty much just going to let you pick it, and I was just going to agree because I don't think it's Sard. It would be Newman, but it's just that question mark on what he is.
Yeah. I'm happy to go Newman.
Throw
Cowan.
Newman number 1 as a safe for now. And then, Cowan is number 2. All of these I kind of don't love. As in past this, is Sard still third? Is it Matt Carroll? Is it Ollie? You can convince me.
The Ollie thing, and Vossi mentioned it again.
I want him on the wing.
I was saying. Vossi mentioned it again in the thing with Corns and Kingy. Oh, it's good to get more development into Ollie and halfback. He knows his deficiencies. Yeah, we all do. Like,
he's a winger.
Can we stop? I don't even want to put him in here in the depth chart in general defender. I don't know, man.
Would your ideal? Should we not have him in there because ideally we just don't want him there? Because I've done this previously where we
Yes.
got told Kempy was a forward and I still wanted him as a defender.
Yeah. Genuinely. Genuinely. Yes.
What would it? Let's for hypothetical sake, let's do it without Ollie Hollins because we need 7 at least in this starting team. As in defenders, we've got 3 key defenders. We've now got 2 generals. We need 2 more to fill out at least the best 23. In this hypothetical, Ollie's not there. Who is it?
Well, it's Sard and Carroll. I can't decide which order.
Yeah, I'll go Sard for seniority.
Yep.
And then how would you rank the rest? We're still keeping Cincotta in this for now. There's Boyd, there's Wilson, Charlison. I'm going to be rude to the Irish fellas, but I'm actually just going to remove them from the depth chart for now because I just don't know their best roles. And I feel like they're kind of off to the side for now.
Yep.
They're kind of just not in the consideration to play. They're just in develop, see what you are, and we'll get there. So how do you see the rest of this playing out?
Where did Cincotta play this year? I can't even remember. Was it mainly forward or he did play defense?
I'll be honest.
I don't even remember.
If you had told me he didn't play a game of footy this year, I would have believed you.
Like a little bit of tagging. Yeah. I'd go with the order that you mentioned, I guess.
They've got him as a medium forward in champion data, so I would believe that his games this season were forward.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like he's in the consideration for this line anymore.
You can throw him out as well if you want.
I think we do. I just don't think he's in consideration anymore for this. So I think it would probably be Boyd and then Wilson, personally. Come on now.
I agree with that, even though they don't seem to want Boyd anywhere near this team at the moment. Nope. That means I'm just going to throw Cincotta to the side and Ollie Hollins. So we know they're here. This will all be stuff that you won't see at all because I'll keep this nice and polished on the actual end of recording. But yeah, interesting. There looks to be, because I'll delete this square for your sake, Lockie, of a Matt Duffy, which means there's kind of a few little spots now.
That's a problem.
That don't quite exist. Harry Charlison will be the last one on that line, but there's now 2 spare spots because of some positional changes. Rucks, we've got DeConing, Pitto, and O'Keefe. Happy to roll that again, or are we throwing Pitto above?
No, afraid not.
That makes sense. Now, midfield will be a bit interesting. Where would you have had Jagger Smith if he was available in round 1? The current order that we made at that stage was Cripps, Walsh, Chera, Hewitt, Lord, and Ben Campo, with Jagger obviously in limbo. Where would you have rated Jagger Smith?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's either just above or just below Lord. I think I would have done just above.
I am in absolute agreement. Now, trying to re-rank this going forward.
Wow, we had Chera.
How are you doing it? That was probably a me call. I'll be honest. I probably made that happen.
Go back to the tapes. It's hard to not have recency bias, but you kind of want to have Walsh one. It's Walsh or Hewitt.
Okay, I was gonna have Walsh and Cripps be the top 2, so Walsh is number 1. Then, yeah, I think it's hard to not still have Cripps in your top 2. I know it was a bad season, but
yeah. Okay.
I don't know. One poor season for Cripper, one good season for George doesn't switch my high up.
He hasn't had
Sam McClure on this. He needs to have 2 in that category for me to call him an A grader. Is where I'm going to sit on it. No, but at that level, has Hewitt played that level for us ever? Where he's in top 2 midfielder for us. That's not being harsh. He's been now number 3, probably most of the time.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hewitt's definitely number 3. And then, Chera, Lord, you can throw Jagger high now if you want. You can just throw him over Chera if your heart desires.
But this is where, yeah. So this is if we are wanting to win like a game, round 1.
This is where if you're picking to play right now, everyone's healthy, going forward. Like this is how you rate. This is how you rate them. Yeah.
Yeah, Chera. Don't like it.
Does Jagger sit above Lord, even though he has not played a game?
Not now.
Not now. Okay. I would definitely have him above, but that's
Really?
yeah.
Lord this year, and
I think he's been fine. I don't think I've been.
really.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been adequate. I don't think he's been exceptional. Not enough
He
to
hasn't
get
been
over
exceptional, but
a top 3 draft pick in my eyes, which is I guess
we've
he hasn't
never
played a
seen
game
him
of
play.
AFL footy,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would be picking
Yep.
Jagger Smith to play tomorrow over Cooper Lord, but that's my biased opinion.
Yep, fair enough.
And
Fair enough.
then Campo rounds that out. So that is Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt, Shearer, Lord, Jagger, then Campo. If you are also like me and think Jagger is higher, leave it in the comments. If you don't leave it in the comments. I don't want to see it.
Swarm the comments with Jagger love.
Wingers,
Dude, you hate Cooper Lord.
I love Cooper Lord. Wingers, though, we've got Blake Acres, Sam Doherty were our starters, then Binns and Lucas Campo. We're now throwing Ollie Hollins into this out of pure disgust from Michael Voss. So is he your number 1 winger?
Of course. Oh my God.
Beautiful. Where are you going with your second?
Yuck.
It's Blakers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately. And then Lucas over Binns?
Yep.
Okay. That is settled. Okay. Interesting. Now, I'm simplifying this, Lockie, because we have this problem every year.
Yep.
Where are they a half forward? Are they a mid-size forward? Are they a small forward? Do they also play midfield? Positions are hard. Now, we did rate them. We had one for half/general forwards and small forwards previously. We're throwing that out and we're just going general forwards. I think it's a bit easier. It'll still be a bit tricky trying to rank them all, but I think you just rank them kind of on importance to this team. Lockie, who would be your number 1 non-key forward in this team?
It's not Francis Evans, is it?
Oh, gee, it'd be pretty close these days, but I don't think we can do it. In my heart, he is.
Yeah, I think Zach Williams.
Yeah, I agree with that statement. Who would be second? How high can we get Frankie Evans? Because I should say this for in the half forward general forwards at the start of the year, we rated them Elijah Hollins, Fogarty, God, that's high, Matt Cottrell, and then just outside the starting team was Moya, and we threw Rob Monahan in there for a bit of fun. And then the small forwards were Zach Williams, Motlop in the team, then Fantasia, and then Evans, Durden, and White. We also have Flynn Young that now exists as a Carlton player. And we've thrown Chincotta as a forward as well.
Wow.
We can all make this category. There are a fair few players.
Yeah, a lot happening here. No, I think it has to be Elijah Holland second.
Yep. I back that in.
You agree?
That tracks on ability. Where are you going from here? Because
what are we going to get from Frankie?
I could really argue high for Matt Cottrell.
Yep, I was tossing up between those two.
And who was the other? Sorry, is it Frankie?
Evans. Yep. 100%.
Yeah, huge. That's incredible. And then your last, is it Moya? Is it Motlop? I feel like it's between those two.
Yeah.
Sorry to everyone else.
Yeah. I have to say Motlop.
Yeah.
No?
I think he's just done I agree with you. I think he's just done enough. And then Moya, they're kind of tied there.
Yeah.
Then, again, Rob Monahan, unfortunately, we're just sliding him to the side currently. He's a developmental player. So you've got Fantasia, Durden, Will White, Flynn Young, and Alex Chincotta to add into this team.
That's an absolute group. It's probably Fogg for me out of them.
Oh, I think I actually just forgot even saying his name. So, I
guess.
I guess it is. It's an upsetting one, but he probably is there.
This is not a great area.
Yeah, I'll be really harsh. I feel like I'm very anti-Fogarty, which I feel mean for because I do kind of like him. But he's one of those players for me that I'm like, kind of why is he on the list in that sense of what you were discussing? He shouldn't be in our best team. He isn't kind of taking us forward. We've now got so many small forwards in there. He doesn't have that strength. He's not necessarily young. Do we need that depth in that role? Would we lose anything next year if we went in with Will White instead of Fogarty and they played every single game next year? I don't think the drop-off is that much.
Yep. I agree. That's why, but I feel like the drop-off here is so slim between all 6 of these guys, right?
When you're rating their talent right now, he's above, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd probably have Chincotta next. It's either him or Fantasia.
Yeah, me too. It was either one of those two.
We'll just go Chincotta because he's currently above Fantasia there, and I had my cursor already on him. Durden, Flynn Young, Will White. Is that your order?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that tracks. I think that is absolutely the way to do it. So just to read that out for everyone again, that is Zach Williams, Elijah Hollins, Cottrell, Evans, Motlop starting, Moya just out, Fogarty, Chincotta, Fantasia, Durden, Young, Will White. Key forwards. We've got a few of them. We've got Charlie Curnow, Harry Mackay, Brodie Kemp, Harry Lemmy. We can throw McGovern into this if we're desperate. Are you happy with how we rated them then, or would you like to change it?
Wow, what a question. That's actually a really hard question, isn't it? I'm becoming so anti him in an instant.
Yeah, gets that way. I think that's still how you have to rate them, though.
I think it is right.
I was skeptical about Brodie Kemp being in the, I guess, the starting team and playing those 3 talls. Would you prefer in this getting a Moya in there instead of a Kemp? How do you kind of sit with it, Lockie, a year on?
Yeah, I still like it personally. I liked it then, and I think it would have worked if everyone stayed healthy and we got the continuity in, particularly considering the way that we played this year in terms of the keys. Having so many small forwards just did my head in and week out. Yeah. And Kemp, even though he's in this key forward category, he can do things. Like he was, could take a mark on a lead, can compete in the air, can put pressure on.
Yeah, my question would be to that, in a world where Charlie leaves, let's say we don't trade him and bring in another key forward. Let's say it's the Goulden deal. We get absolutely the works, but no key forward. Would you be okay with a Mackay Kemp kind of forward duo? Would you need another tall if it was Mackay Kemp, Karmas, or Fritsch occupying that third? Is that something you could live with? Because I feel like Brodie Kemp's name has kind of not been thrown around when talking about replacing Charlie. I understand why he's not necessarily that key tall, but he kind of just isn't in the conversation at all talking about Carlton's forward line for next season. Whereas he's just re-signed. It feels like he needs to be at least mentioned in this.
Did we have O'Keefe on this list anywhere?
He's currently.
Oh yeah, we got in there in the ruck.
Switch him in the key forwards. It's hard when they kind of a few of those play.
Yeah. To your question, I think it's a really tricky one, isn't it? I think there's a world where I like that scenario where Harry is the main focal point as a key forward. Kemp is like the sidekick when healthy. We've seen how that Moya, I mean, hopefully he continues to improve. He can be like a lead up player that can take a mark as well. And then you threw some names out there of more mid-sized guys like Fritsch. Yeah, I think that there's a potential mix there.
We also saw, and I'm just throwing this out there as another weird alternative. This is not something that makes us necessarily better next year, but a Harry, Kemp and McGovern forward line. We saw Gov play in the forward line a little bit. Is that something you'd entertain, or is this like we really need someone else playing that forward role? We need to bring in something.
I think we need to bring in something if Charlie was to go. Yes.
Mm.
But what that mix looks like, I'm really open. I think that the three kind of keys, quote unquote, can work. And I like the concept still.
Mm.
But also, I think that there's a scenario where we don't need it. The thing that we have to avoid is those six guys at the bottom of the general forwards list and having them be the ones occupying the team. That's the biggest problem to me. We need 7 quality players in the forward line. I'm honestly less fussed about the key general split than I am just 7 players of quality.
I think that's a really good thing to bring up. It's probably the area that I raised just before we started this season, that the lack of those high half forwards or damaging small forwards, and that it looks like the game is really transitioning that way. You look at the teams at the top end of the ladder, they've got those damaging forwards. We just don't have them. And we still kind of don't have them. We're relying there on Zach Williams to be fit, played some really good footy, Elijah to be available, Cottrell to be healthy, Evans to continue his very small sample size, Motlop to take a step, Moy to take a step. It's just not dependable in that line. When you look at least the rest, like we know Akers' deficiencies, but it's, if you had to go Ollie Hollands and Akers, it's not the worst thing in the world. I think if they play Ollie Hollands as a defender, which it looks like they will, we need something running through here. I would not be wanting Akers, maybe Lucas, a rotation of Lord, Walsh, Chera. That just does not get me excited. I know you can see other guys like a Cottrell rotate through there, and Evans has been up there, but I feel like we just got to lock down actual outside players rather than this rotate City, which allows, no offense to them, but Durden's, Fantasia's, Will White's to play every single week. We need to be above that level.
Yep.
If we want to win a flag.
Agree. Exactly.
Is there anything else that kind of stands out for you as far as if we had kept everyone was healthy, big issues?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. The general defenders doesn't inspire me.
It does feel like a position that should be quite easy to fix.
Yeah.
That those players feel like the ones you can pick up for a bargain. But I agree, it's not a list of 4 or 5 that I'm really excited by. Even if you put Ollie Hollands in there at 3 or 4, I'm not inspired by it. And then you go sort of one step further with this, which I'm going to. Let's take out those that are going. Silvani is out of this team. De Koning comes out as the ruck. We've then also losing, bear with me while I do this really slowly. On the screen, it'll look absolutely schmick, I believe. Chincotta disappears. Fantasia disappears. And Lemmy goes.
Yeah.
What does this leave you with? It leaves you with a massive hole in key defense. It leaves you without a ruckman. It leaves you without a bit of depth to clearly the key forwards, but also, I mean, not that it's depth, but just players that were occupying a spot in that general forwards. Is there anyone on the list currently that you see can take any of those positions that you can just kind of rule out the need that we're losing?
Yeah, not really. I mean, it depends how you feel about Pitto in the ruck. I don't even know how I feel about him. It's been such a wild ride with him on the list. I mean, O'Farrell showed such great things, and I'm so excited for his future. We're not going to see him for a while.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think clearly there are areas we need to bring in players. We know we're getting, Dean into this team as well as a youngster, but unproven, such a young kid. Don't want to heap too much expectation on him. Nick Haynes had a great season, but again, he's getting that little bit older. Can we expect him to have the same season? There's still question marks on that for me. Something needs to be happening because there's also talk potentially Mitch McGovern might be let go or traded. That just leaves an even bigger hole in key defense. So there are list concerns. Us not being linked with names is probably my bigger concern because I'm seeing them. I'm seeing issues and I'm not hearing names come across the desk.
So can I ask you that, because you touched on it for a second with Dean? You know this topic so much better than I do. Is there any world where he plays round one?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he's definitely more ahead than a Harry O'Farrell was. Harry O'Farrell showed glimpses, didn't have a complete sort of under 18 year. And I mean, you're comparing I guess O'Farrell was pick 38 compared to a guy who's the best key defender in the draft.
Yeah.
He's could go, pick 7-ish. Sort of 7 to, I guess, sort of 12 is probably his range in this draft.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, when we were kind of discussing about whether Silvani might leave or not, and I was trying to make the point that, like, is there a world where in 12 months, Wiedering, Dean, and Hoff is just locked and loaded? Does that make it not a place where a key defender would want to come?
Yeah, it probably goes back to the type of player where I'd be wanting a Nick Haynes type, where not positionally, because I think Nick Haynes is less of a lockdown, but if we could just get a bigger body to be able to lock down for a year, because I'd be a bit concerned if we were playing Dean as that second lockdown key defender and having Haynes, because Haynes has even played wing at the moment. It's a strange position. I'm interested to know what we're doing with these key defenders. Something needs to come across for depth that can, at least for a season, allow us to not have to play Dean round one. Like, make him earn it, let him develop. That's kind of where I see things. And we can throw out names as well. I'm going to kind of do that a little bit later. I know we did on the last podcast, but that's why it'd have to be someone who's, 29, 30 plus.
That's what I'm
doesn't
saying.
need to play and be that long-term option.
Exactly. I think we're making the same point.
Beautiful. So let's look at those who are out of contract.
Wild.
And let's go through them. So we know we've delisted Chincotta, Lemmy, and Fantasia. Silvani and De Koning have gone. Doherty is retired.
Yeah.
I think I accidentally took him out of the team by accident. Because we threw Ollie Hollands. Where would he be in your depth chart? I feel like it's a different one with retiree, but if he was still on your wing or half forward, where would he be in there, just to see where that list hole is so I can adjust that in post?
Yeah, I guess on the wing he's below Akers.
Above Lucas.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So you probably on screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'd be like, they didn't mention Doherty. He's been there the whole time. That's because I'm lazy at editing, and he will just be sitting there, because I'm not going back and then redoing it and showing it on the screen. If you're weirded and confused, you've got to this part and you know why Sam Doherty was on your screen that entire time. And then we've re-signed Brody Kemp, Francis Evans. So out of contract currently, we have Flynn Young, who's 23, Charlison, who is 19. Motlop is 22. Mitch McGovern is 31. Nick Haynes is an unrestricted free agent at 33. And Will White is 21 out of contract.
Yes.
Let's go through them individually.
Let's do it.
Don't worry about list sizes. Don't worry about all of that. You want to keep them or you don't want to keep them. Are we trading some of these? Let us know. And I want to know your comments as well if you're watching or listening to this. So Flynn Young, 23 out of contract. What are you doing, Lockie?
Oh, it's a hard one. I promise I'm not going to say it's a hard one for all of these. I would give Flynn Young another year.
I think I am also one more year, or at least to make this not a fun game and sit on the fence slightly. He would be one of those that, depending on what was coming in list sizes, it's like you can just kind of wait and see. Maybe
you just said the list sizes don't matter in this.
I'm just saying if they did, that's where he'd sit for me. He'd be at the front of the queue. Charlison, 19, out of contract.
I don't know. If he walked into my home right now, I wouldn't know it was him.
Oh, well, who knows? If you're in Melbourne, that apparently might happen quite a lot. You're lucky you're in London. The home invasions are a little bit less. But, I probably wouldn't recognize him either. But I will keep him. Because he played some good footy in the twos.
Okay, good.
So, and we do need those halfbacks, so maybe it's a good thing to do. Jesse Motlop, 22, out of contract. Do you keep him? Is he someone you maybe look to trade, get some value, and make some other deals happen?
Wow, I hadn't thought about the trade. It would definitely be the trade or keep for sure. I think, yeah, like I've said on the show a number of times, I still don't really know what his strengths are and what the best version of him would be. But
if another club was offering him 2 years and we were only offering 1, do you offer him 2 to keep him, or do you look to move him on?
Wow. 2 years of Motlop. Oh, it's so hard to put away like the expectations that we had, right? And just what we're getting on the park.
I think I saw enough in the back half of this year
to do
that
2.
I might, depending on the coin, or at least,
yeah, depending on the coin.
Maybe if you could somehow haggle a 1 year with a trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But you're a keep overall?
Yeah, to keep overall.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put my money on it.
Mitch McGovern, someone who did not, speaking of hitting those clauses, did not get his trigger to automatically get another deal, which makes you think, are we looking to move him on? Which is weird when you look at our depth. But we've said multiple times, he's one in that bracket at 31, should be those leaders, should be the no mistakes that we turn to. And unfortunately, at times he feels like he's in the way.
I guess so. I'd be giving him another year. Considering if that was going to happen, the money probably isn't significant. Just considering the depth chart, considering his best footy for us, I think is valuable. Yeah, I would be giving him 1 more.
Is there any world you trade him?
Yeah, it depends on what's coming back. Not necessarily in the trade, but what's coming back in the period, right?
If, I guess, let's say in this instance, Buku Karmas comes in. I know I have him more as a forward, but he might play defense. If he comes in, and I'm just making the most ludicrous trade possible here, but West Coast have just lost to McGovern. They need some experience. They get another McGovern in a deal that things happen and we get a Campbell Chesser. Is that enough return, or are you still needing that depth? Is it 2 players need to come in for you and Dean? What does it look like for McGovern to be going?
Yeah, wow. Oh, wow, that's such a hard question. Jesus Christ. God, Chesser, I tell you what, someone watched a bit of West Coast this year. Doesn't excite me, I fear. Just putting that out there. Yeah, so it's Silvani gone. Need to replace him with Dean. Yeah, if McGovern's coming in, where do you even go with this?
Yeah. All of that nonsense, I've still got him keep as well, just because I think we're losing a bit too much versatility and height. I think particularly if you maybe lose Charlie as well, if you can just be like, hey, mate, you play for $50. You've taken a big deal previously. You owe us a little bit. Let's just give you a very cheap deal. But a man who I am a keep immediately, I don't care if he's 58 years old, is Nick Haynes. He is a must keep right now. Rob Monahan, out of contract, 21. I'm not expecting you to have seen a lot of this man, but
I have not.
A few years now in the system, an Irishman. Do you just keep him on the category B list and hope for 1 more year, or do you cut ties because he hasn't really shown anything?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's kind of similar to Lemmy, except like you said, category B, which makes it different. I have no opinion on this.
I feel really harsh on him, but like I know it's hard to come across, different country, don't know the sport. I just have not seen really any glimpse of there's something here to work with. Whereas I think with some of the other Irish fellas that have come across, there's something. I just don't see it. So I'd probably make way. And then Will White, 21, out of contract, keep or delist?
Yeah, my gut for him says another year. Like in the same category of guys like Flynn Young, there's nothing really I could do to make a strong case of why one deserves it more than the other, personally.
I've got D list,
Mm-hmm.
and I love Will
So
White.
So tell me why Flynn is different then.
I think I just saw they're very similar. They're so similar, and I know Will White's younger as well. I just think there was a little bit more, I guess, ball use skill from Flynn Young. Him higher up the ground. There was a few more things and glimpses I saw. I think Will White was potentially better around goal, but part of me as well with Flynn Young, I feel like they were pretty much the same. Flynn Young came in halfway through the year. He had less time to show it, and I think he was already at that level, which makes me say I'd give if I had to give a year to one of them, it's Flynn Young. And I think list spot wise, in my head with this, I was always going in with keeping one. But if we did keep Will White as a rookie, I wouldn't be too upset.
If I had to pick one of them too, I would do Flynn as well.
Yeah. So we're pretty much keeping all of them, which means they all stay in this depth chart, which is kind of crazy. Looking at the needs that we've kind of created there, it's clear that we've got key defense, ruck, probably need a winger, might need to add a young key forward or something in there if Charlie stays. If he goes, definitely need something in there. And
of course,
I guess looking at the general forwards and the general defenders, we want to be topping up, getting someone from the top, not just adding in guys at the caliber of a Chincotta and Fantasia. So let's, I guess, have a look at some potential trade targets. Are there players that you envisage straight away for these needs that you think this is a no-brainer?
God, I mean, not really. I'll be honest. Well, actually, no, that's not fair. I think the one name that has intrigued me when it's come up is Liam Reedy.
Yep.
For the ruck. That feels like the exact right move where, like, not going to get any opportunity at Freo, from what I can see. He's not young, he's entering hopefully his rucking prime, and he feels like the right kind of player to put up against Pitto and be like, you guys, earn that number one spot.
Yeah. And I know I asked you this last week, but I want gun to the head. He's in our depth chart right now, above or below Pitto?
Oh, I don't know it. I don't know enough about him, so I'll say Pitto.
I'll do that for the sake of this. I would have him,
but I just don't.
But that's also grass is greener kind of vibes. It's hard. I haven't seen too much of him.
Let's hope that Reedy and Charlson don't, come through the door, because I'll be like, hey lads, don't know.
Where are you?
Here we are.
I guess key defense is there. We're trying to replace Sauce. We've clearly got Dean. Where does Dean find his way into this depth chart straight away next year?
Yeah, you're better to say this than I am.
If O'Farrell is fit, I weirdly I have him just below because I haven't.
Makes sense.
Because we don't know what he is currently. If that is anything to go by, so he sits above.
Fantastic signs.
He sits above Young, above McGovern, just below O'Farrell, but scope very quickly to jump in. I do, however, think that number 2 spot is still needed to be taken by someone now. Yeah. Who that is, I mean, I threw out the names last time. Gardner from Brisbane, Frost from Hawthorn, Buku from the Dogs, who I would classify more as a forward.
Yeah.
Would you really want any of those, or is this we need something else?
Yeah, I mean, they don't excite me, but for the purposes of the discussion, where I'm hoping that whoever this player is probably not going to be in the team, in my opinion, round 1, 2027. If this is all we can get, then I guess it gets the job done. Yeah.
Well, I'm just going to throw in probably the player I'd like the most, I think it's probably the most unrealistic out of the three, but I'm going to throw in Darcy Gardner into mine at the moment because I think that's a solid player into there with, again, scope of O'Farrell Dean to kind of take those spots as the year progresses. Now, halfback general defenders. We've got Newman, Cowan, Sard, Carroll, Boyd, Wilson, Charlison. We know Ollie Hollands can kind of go in there and most likely will be in there. But that's not exciting. Any players out there you think, let's just get him in? He's above these few. We need to be better next season.
Okay, so this is where, when I said to you earlier that when I look at like best 23, quote unquote, I'm actually feeling pretty good about it. Looking at these guys, so it's, Newman, Cowan, Sard, and Carroll. I believe that Cowan and Carroll can be in our future taking us to the promised land team. So while we could probably bring in potentially someone who would outperform Carroll maybe in round one, I like the idea of them playing and getting this exposure. I like what we've seen so far. Yeah.
Is there a but? Yeah, so I think so. I disagree here. I think my thing is, and maybe this is unpopular. I'm very interested to know your thoughts. As much as we've kind of joked about this player a lot, particularly in the trade deals, I actually would like Ollie Florent to be over to us. I feel like he wouldn't cost a lot. He was out of favor. And a player like him slotting in, taking Carroll's spot for a year, and then maybe throughout the year, a Sard or a Newman that we can't truly bank on, Carroll can then take that spot throughout this year and into 2027. I feel like we need to get a bit more maturity through this spot with players I can depend on. And I still think Ollie Florent's skill set is kind of something that we could use in that defense.
For sure. It's very reasonable. Like, there's a lot of question marks here. If Sard regresses again, that's really bad. If Newman doesn't recover how we hope that he might, that's really bad. So your point is well made. For sure.
And I also think another interesting player, I might have mentioned him last week as well, is Jai Sarong, who he's a unique player. He's 193 centimeters. He's kind of a weirdish kind of third tall, but he's also really mobile, so we can kind of run. He can kind of play a few different positions, which is maybe why he hasn't really broken in at Hawthorn. I feel like he also played a bit of wing time as well. He is just a really weird kind of player. But taller than McGovern, kind of is in that mobile, can do a little bit and play different positions. With knowing that a guy like Nick Haynes has pushed up onto a wing as well, if this was the player that came in for Mitch McGovern, he's 22 years of age, I think that that's kind of like an upgrade in the sense of if he does make mistakes, at least he's a kid and not one of your senior leaders. So I wouldn't mind a guy like Jai Sarong potentially coming in on a really low cost. He's out of contract. They may even delist him to allow him to move. It feels like a real low risk. Just making some changes to the bottom would be potentially cheaper, giving you some more salary cap elsewhere if you needed it.
For sure. I mean, that everything on paper there sounds reasonable, but doesn't
it's just not really
23.
No, and that's kind of the concern with a lot of these things that feel like are plausible. None of them are really making us that much better next year. Is there any other kind of halfbacks or anyone in that position? Because you said it's not exciting with a Newman and a Sard there, or is this just something we hold off for one season and then go big once we know what Carroll is, we know what Cowan can do? Billy Wilson maybe get some opportunity, Ollie Hollands. Is it a bit more just hold off, make changes to other positions?
Well, yeah. If there really is nobody else out there in this spot for us to go for, I'm kind of leaning towards that. Like I said, maybe we disagree a little bit, but I would love, and I'm hopeful that Carroll can be a best 23 player throughout next year. What about Jagger? I've heard a couple people mention the idea of him being a halfback, like a Dacos style for his first season. Again, you know him better than me, like from juniors. How do you feel about that?
I just don't think he's that player, but he could. He genuinely could. It's hard to know the jump to the AFL and how that works. I think I've said this previously when you've asked this question at the start of the year, but I just don't see him being that sort of skillful mover in that sense from halfback, just distributing. Yep. I see him more being that guy who in the middle is able to flick the hands out, do a couple of spin moves, get the ball moving rather than weirdly being that by foot halfback, which I think is what you might want more. Like Dacos, I think is a really strong kick. Jagger's an okay kick, but he's not that elite ball user. So I don't think it's improving what kind of Carroll and those players can do. But maybe it's something that to ease him into AFL, he spends some time. But I just think Jagger's such a player that he can start centre bounce round one if healthy. That's what I thought this year. He kind of has that ability. But yeah, I'd almost prefer him being a bit more around the front half than the back half.
Yeah. Well, then we're going to have to address that elephant in the room at some stage during this off-season, which is, if that's true, then someone's getting pushed out of this midfield. Big time.
Well, who is that? And is that midfield enough for you? Just Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt, Chera, Lord, Jagger, Ben. We know we're getting glimpses of Zach Williams, maybe Elijah, Jesse Motlop, Ashton Moyer, all kind of getting a little bit of time splashed through. We know we need to improve. Is there space in that midfield, or is that simply Jagger Smith and Cooper Lord?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Because, well, I ran through it before. It's like, I just can't see Hewitt playing elsewhere. Cripps, same. Walsh is the wing, a spot for him. That half forward midfield role kind of. You think Jagger's best spot is in the midfield? I think that's probably true. I don't want to push Lord out of this. We need to develop young guys. Chera's annoying me in this spot.
If our dream trade, I guess, happened, Errol Goulden comes across. I know he can play a lot of wing, can play a bit of half forward. He's that front half player. Where would you see him fitting into this depth? Because he gets midfield time as well. So then if you've been kind of, I guess, a little bit apprehensive for a guy of Flanders caliber and where he fits into the midfield, Goulden clearly a step above. What does that change and your hierarchy and willingness to not bring in a midfielder or bring one in?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. Wow. I feel weird putting him where my gut said to put him in this list, which is second.
Who drops out? Because currently Jagger's not in there. Currently, Cooper Lord has got his spot, so it's sort of...
Yeah, in my mind, it's kind of like a Goulden Walsh wing midfield split. As in, like, that would be the roles that they would kind of maybe alternate in. Oh,
yeah. I think in this world, Blakers can disappear. Sorry, Blakers. Walsh, I guess, or Goulden can start on the wing. That means it's Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt. Gee, it makes me really want Cherry in there less, weirdly.
That's what I'm saying.
And then almost play Cooper Lord and Jagger Smith.
That would be what I would say. Yeah. I want us to look at what we can get for Cherry.
What do you think his value is, genuinely?
Yeah, what's the team that would go for him, like St Kilda?
It feels like there's not a lot of teams that would want that kind of player other than... like, Did Geelong or Hawthorn have a look? I know he's not necessarily elite, but they've been kind of linked to random midfielders. Would he fit a bit of a need there?
Probably not those teams, I would say.
It's really Saints, isn't it?
Saints. Don't know.
Because I'm looking at teams that need a midfielder.
What's Richmond's salary situation?
Well, they wanted him previously. That actually could...
Childhood Tigers fan.
Yeah. I mean, that could be something that... Do this this is the dumbest thing I'll throw out there, and I don't think it's something that's great. But if Merritt was looking around and you switched those two with a bunch of whatever to get it done, what do you reckon? Because they'd need a player. Do Melbourne need a midfielder?
Maybe if they've
If
got two
Petrarca
leaving.
goes, all of a sudden there could be something in that. I think I think he should definitely be out there as trade bait. Is that banking too much on a Lord and Jagger Smith, knowing that we've already cut from that depth and it maybe hurt us? I think it's all about that return, what you get and what it can help elsewhere. Because
I agree.
I'm just seeing a spot for him less and less. And I know Hewitt's aging, Cripps aging, but what Chera is and what he's kind of become, it looks like he can kind of just get that. How many of those players just are on the market that you can just get a middling midfielder?
I feel like I'm bringing you down on him throughout this episode because I know that you love him, and I mean I love him too. But to me, it's like if you're going to be in this midfield, you're either got to be giving us excellent output next year, or we're developing you to give us that excellent output. And he looks like the one name to me out of those 7 that isn't.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that you've got high upside guys now that you want to get in there that you're just kind of holding us back if you're not performing. And
spot on.
He's shown highs, but we just need more. And yeah, if I can get something else for him and transform other parts of the team that need it, I think I'll back the youth and screw it. I feel like I can get a 30-year-old run-of-the-mill midfielder that can help the depth. There's a Matty Kennedy out there on another list. You can sort that out. But wingers, if it's not Goulden, and if Ollie Hollins is playing in defense, it's Blakers, it's Lucas, it's Binns, it's every single forward playing on the wing. What are you doing here? Is there anyone that you're after? Is there any midfielders that you think can kind of rotate there? What are you kind of looking at through this? Because we've been linked with a Campbell Chesser, who I guess can kind of play that kind of more outside role. Are you looking at for anything? You know, Petrocelli's been linked. I guess he's got some run. So do you push him up? What excites you in fixing this? Because so far we're linked to depth players, and we need to improve this list.
Yeah, no, none of the things that you just said excited me. I guess Cottrell's a name that if we're looking at the other lines here that could, be that wing guy. It's an obvious hole, right?
Yeah, we just can't. I just don't think we can run back this same starting team and hope to be better and just bring in a couple of depth players. And I know this isn't exciting and this isn't necessarily making us better, but it's a name I wanted to throw out regardless. That's Camden McIntosh. For the sake of this is my world where you get rid of Blake Acres and you bring in Camden McIntosh and say, look, you probably start the first half of the year. There's no guarantees, but we want you to pass on some culture and some winning because, and I don't know if he is that player. Maybe he isn't that kind of leader, but we spoke about it at the start of this episode. We've spoken about it at length a lot throughout our time on this podcast. We don't have guys who have been there and done it, that know the training standards, that know what winning is like. He's won premierships. He's been delisted. You'd only need him for a year, which is as much as we have Acres currently. I only would want him on this list for one more year. I feel like I'd prefer a Camden McIntosh to play that role and just teach a Lucas Camporelli what it means to be a premiership winger.
I actually missed this news that he'd been delisted because I knew that he was like playing decent to good footy for them this year and playing really consistently, I thought.
And he'd get us a fun headband. We love a headband.
Yeah.
It just feels like
worst guys.
I know again we're bringing in more depth players, but at some stage, can you bring in a guy who's won a premiership to teach? It just feels like it's something this squad hasn't done. So I quite like that instead of Acres.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of what do you make of Campbell Chesser and a Jack Petrocelli that have been linked?
Oh, I've seen so little of West Coast recently, but Petrocelli, just don't rate. And then
Yeah,
Chesser,
don't like him.
I from what I hear, he had some good games at the end of the season, but I remember seeing Chesser's first few games, and I remember thinking, I shouldn't say this. It was like, this might be the worst football I've ever seen at AFL level.
Made some horrific mistakes early on in the season. It was like everything he did was just a calamity, which we've had enough of those footballers. The annoying thing is he was one of my favorite players in that draft. Like he was
Really?
silky. He was a
Wow.
silky mover. He was smooth. He great by foot. Like he was
Okay.
an exciting player that I really almost wanted him at Carlton. And then everything I've seen
Wow.
has
Okay.
been really poor. I'd be intrigued because of seeing those glimpses at his under 18 year, whether if it was a really low value move,
Yeah.
we didn't have to give up a lot because he's out of contract, whether it's worth a just real low risk shot.
Yeah.
Again, I've said it a million times. The concern is how many of these can you take in one trade window? It feels like every single person is, it's a low risk. They'll just add to the depth. One or two of those is great. We're getting 12 at this stage.
Yep. I agree. It's sadly not an exciting conversation so far, but it is early September, so let's hope that there's more.
Would something that maybe excites you more, I think just looking back at the midfield, is Cam Mackenzie can't get as much opportunity at Hawthorn. There's talks that they want to, I know Warple's leaving to Geelong, but they want to try and bring in a star into this midfield. If we somehow moved on a Chera, is he someone you'd like? Or is this just adding to the youngsters?
How old is Cam Mackenzie?
He
21.
is,
Young.
yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would rather him on the list than I would Chera. Yep.
That's kind of my thinking. If we move Chera, I'd want Cam Mackenzie. And I feel like that doesn't necessarily improve us for next year, but it doesn't make us worse, and it improves us going forward. I loved Cam Mackenzie again in his draft year. I think he's that smooth mover that can just add. It's what I think we wanted with Chera, but we kind of haven't gotten. It's a younger upgrade, and if we're looking at making us a bit younger, I think it's an exciting thing. It just depends what you have to give up there. But then again, if you're getting a pick for Chera, maybe it equals. Right now, we're not improving this team, which is concerning. No. Can you find me anything in this forward line, Lockie, that fixes it? We got Zach Williams there. We got Elijah. He will probably be gone. Cottrell's not fit. We love Frankie, Motlop, Moya. It's not a lot to get me excited about next year. Can you give me anything?
What? In terms of players to bring in, or in terms of saying that these guys can develop? Because there's some that
players
can develop.
To bring in.
To do that, you need to be able to make a case of why they're definitely better than one of the guys that we just listed, right? You can go back to the Sydney conversation. I think Hayward and Papley both go into this team and improve that forward line, which is why that deal appealed. A deal like that also would enable more things, like you mentioned.
What if there was a three-way deal? A man who is getting thrown some big cash. Guess who also now has some big cash? Carlton. He is a free agent next year. So maybe you can get it to happen this year. They've got some ins. Maybe this just works out for us. Similar to some of the trades I threw up there in a three-way, where maybe it happens. Curnow goes, we give up some picks, we get maybe a forward, and we get Zach Bailey into this team. Essendon are throwing $1 million at him. He is that mid forward. He's someone who can kick goals. He's an All-Australian. That would improve us, Lockie.
Yeah, it would.
Is that something is he someone who in a Charlie Curnow deal you'd be excited to turn Charlie into? Or is he just not that elite positionally?
It's a great question. I mean, we're referencing tradies a lot on this podcast, but I know that Sam literally said that if you put Zach Bailey on Carlton, he would not be a good player, which I totally disagree with.
Yeah.
But how good would he be? God, average 20 disposal this year in that spot. I mean, it's exciting.
Yeah, it improves
It's
us.
exciting. Of course, it does. Yeah, it's the salary question and those things.
If you lose Charlie, you get Hayward and Bailey through the door. Forget about if you get another pick. Don't worry about that. Just as far as players who are definitely in the starting lineup, is that an improvement or is that worse?
I think we're a better team.
I think I agree. And then you can get a Karmas in. You could try to get a Fritsch or someone else just to add to that dynamic forward line. It's just a body if you need it. But I think Zach Bailey is someone I would love us to try and have a ping at. And maybe you don't have to pay him as much as Essendon because we're slightly in a better position and you can sell him on the dream a little bit more. But I think that's the kind of player we need to be finding those teams that, hey, you're worth more than your current contract. You're at a really good team, but come and actually get your worth. Now, maybe that's not the $1 million. I don't think we should be paying him that much. But Brisbane going to have to pay some players, and they're not going to be paying Zach Bailey. He's the one I can see leaving that squad. There's a position for us. That is the position we need right now, that general forward.
Age is good. Age is good.
Need to find a way to make it happen. And then, I guess, are there any other kind of... What would you make of Bailey Fritsch? Is he someone you'd like anyway into this team? Is he someone you wouldn't want to touch? I guess talk to me about him and like a Buku, because there have been names that have been somewhat linked to us.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Let me think through this. This is kind of in the scenario that we're saying that Curnow is going to be gone. We're replacing that.
Or just not, even if we keep Curnow when we bring in these guys. So I think Buku should come in regardless.
Yeah, I'm kind of just thinking from the Fritsch perspective.
Yeah.
Curnow, Harry, Fritsch, all guys who are at their peak or ready to start declining, you would say. I'm more interested in the Fritsch thing if Curnow was definitely out the door, I'd say.
I think
not
for
that they're
the
same
right
player, but
I think for the right price, I would be happy to bring Fritsch into this forward line because I just think we need to improve it. And we need goals elsewhere.
Right,
and I don't trust Brodie Kemp. And I know he's coming off an Achilles, which is even worse. Zach Williams, I don't trust. If Elijah goes, I know they're a completely different player, but it kind of opens up a spot in that forward line. He can kind of teach Ashton Moyer as well, playing a kind of similar role. I think we need to improve this team. And even if it's for a couple of years, we need to get better. And I'm just very concerned right now that we're not improving this team. And we're well behind the 8 ball as far as being a finals team. I think if everyone is fit and we are able to bring in a Harry Dean and keep Charlie Curnow, I think we're that bottom part of the 8. And we need to be higher than that. And we need to start to push to be higher than that. And that needs to be bringing in players. And I guess I'm struggling myself to find out who they are. I'm just praying the list management team can find those missing links because, boy, if we run it back again with just Gardner comes in for Sauce, Reedy comes in for TDK, and that's about it, and Buku comes in, that might be the least excited I'll ever be for an AFL season going into 2026.
Yeah, well, this is where we need to see the vision that Davies got shown from Wright. Like, how much is Graham Wright thinking that 2026 is our year?
Do you think they need to communicate where they're at some stage, whether it's after all the business has been done, Because I think every Carlton supporter is still thinking we're playing finals. Like that's the aim with this list.
Yep.
Do you think if that's shifting internally where they're saying, look, we're just trying to bring in some youth, rejuvenate, and we still want to play finals, but we're seeing the premiership tilt that was meant to be this year. We're seeing it 2028 now. Do you think that needs to be communicated?
Wow, it's a really good question again. I don't know. I don't know how direct they should be on all of that. Like, I would love it, obviously, to have that clarity. And it kind of goes without saying that no matter what really happens, I guess, in this period, they're going to say, it was good business regardless, right? I don't know. That's maybe the hardest question right now. Like, I've wanted to kind of bring this up on a few podcasts, to be honest, basically for the last few months between you and I. And again, I feel like it's kind of the elephant in the room, which is how much do we actually believe in this for next year?
Yeah.
Because I'm personally feeling really optimistic about 2 or 3 years away. But I don't know how optimistic I'm feeling for next year.
It feels like we're in a transition again, and that's going to be tough to get through, and there's no guarantee you get out of it. But it might be something that needs to happen, because just for the sake of this, Wiedering, O'Farrell, Dean in defence.
Yep.
Cowan.
Yep.
Carroll. We then need 2 players to play in defence.
Yep.
Let's say it's Reedy that takes that ruck spot.
Yep.
An aging Cripps can maybe play a bit forward, but Walsh. Is Hewitt still there?
When are we talking about here? 2027?
27, 28?
Yeah, take him out.
Is Chera
take
in
out
that?
One of Cripps. Nope.
So it's Cooper Lord and Jagger Smith, which means we would need, how many is that? 1, 2, 3,
and
4,
Walker.
5. And then, Cody Walker steps into that. We'd need a winger to solve the Ollie Hollands partnership.
Yep.
Is Zach Williams still there?
No.
Elijah Hollands is a question mark, but we keep him.
Please.
Is Cottrell in that?
It's hard to bank on him.
Is Evans in that?
Yes. What?
Is Motlop in that?
Evans is captain then.
Let's say we keep Charlie and Harry. I'm saying there is. I don't know if Kemp's in that, which means,
Add Moyer to general forward.
Actually, I will throw Moyer into that. Absolutely. That means positions we would need with this young team coming through is 2 general defenders, a winger, 3 half general forwards, and another key forward, which could be Hudson.
Could be.
Maybe it is. And that's saying Motlop, Evans, Cottrell are not kind of in that. Yep. Is that enough to build off and then in 2 years fill all those positions? Whether that's more draft, because who knows? Like, I'm just saying this incredibly optimistically. Maybe Jack Eisen, who is our NGA, is in that sort of general forward. Are you confident that if we are saying right now it's not happening in the next 2 years, it's the years after that this is enough to then fix it with the incomings through draft and trade?
We're getting exactly to the point that I wanted to make, which is that if Wright, Austin, Davies looking at this right now, and the answer to the question of are we going to be competitive with this list next year is no, and they do this exercise, then this is why we have to make the moves and cash in on Chera, Sard,
McGovern.
Who else?
Not that you're cashing in a lot.
Like,
I don't think you're cashing in. I don't think you can get money. You're not getting anything for Sard. You're not getting anything for him.
But then, but if we agree that he's not going to be in this team in a few years, then maybe we need to have a bit more short-term pain
But
with
there needs
some
to be
youth in the
aggression
team.
because I think there's enough here to obviously, whether it drops off or it doesn't, there is enough talent here to take us forward beyond this point in the next 5 years. I absolutely agree with that. But there needs to be some aggression in getting someone who can play off halfback. We need wingers who can actually impact, that can maybe play in the midfield too, like a Walshy, or also go in the half forward line and impact. We're going to need small forwards. Is that Jesse Motlop? Is that Frankie Evans? Or do we need to discover another? We need more half forwards, more dynamic, Brian Myers type players that I don't think they spent a lot of money on him. I need to figure out right now what that man even pick was, because I cannot imagine it was super, super high. He was pick 57 in the national draft. We need to find a player like that in the national draft and develop them. Where are they for us? Whether Charlie stays or not, there needs to be another marking dynamic player there. If Brody Kemp can't do that, that aggression needs to start now. And that's why I think this exercise has shown me, getting in some depth is okay for this year, but there needs to be more than that in this window. There needs to be double that the next year. And the concern is if we're stagnant this year from a position of average, you're banking on us having to be so much better on field next year to attract that. And I'm just very concerned that won't happen. If it's bad, then is Vossy gone? Does that make it even harder to attract talent? This might be the most important trade and free agency window we've ever had.
I agree. Because this feels like the biggest sliding doors to me in so long. It really is unclear to me whether we should be going hard all in is the now versus this. Like for example, if we look at the players that we talked about earlier, Butters and Goulden right now, make us amazingly better now, and they're going to be in this future, right?
It has to be players under 25.
Yeah. Well, I know. Yeah, I keep coming back to Flanders. I'm not convinced that Flanders is going to be better than any of those 5 mids in 2 years. That they're the kind of players that I'm like, yeah.
Do you think, and I'm just devil's advocating for this, he can be someone that fills out some of these other roles?
Maybe,
whether that's going back to
halfback,
halfback, whether that's playing half forwards, pinch hitting in the midfield, because he's an elevation above what we currently have. But is that too much to pay for someone of his stature?
What this is showing me is the halfback is a problem.
Yeah.
Right? It's a problem for next season and the future. So
I agree.
So that fills a gap.
There is something that could solve this in a way. It just depends if we still have a pick, if he's not taken beforehand. But there's a player in this draft that I absolutely love, that it would be absolutely perfect for us. And the halfback, you can kind of get these guys. Cal Toomey, for reference, has him currently ranked number 7. It's Josh Lindsay. He skillful user, left footer, just is one of the premier young halfbacks that can come through. That there is kind of scope as well with him that he could be one of those that starts halfback and then does push into the midfield. He's already got that already. But if he comes into this, I'd probably almost have him over Matt Carroll already. Josh Lindsay, if we're able to, say, use one of our picks on him, if he's still somehow available. There's also, and this just depends on the draft, but there's another guy I really like, which is Sam Grill, who's a midfielder who depends if you want to keep adding more midfielders, but he's just a bit more of that outside. He's really skillful, can actually use the ball. Can he be someone that plays on the wing, starts as your half forward, moves into the midfield as well? So do we try to stockpile some draft picks, get them early? Does that fill some of these positions that if we're building for 28, this sort of allows you to still be competitive now, but the real, these kids have had 2 years in the system, we can win the flag?
I think how these next couple months play out will show us where these new guys in the club see us at. And we'll know if that's we'll know if that's what they're going for.
Do you think we can attract enough top talent to fill these positions? Or is it all just going to be kids?
Well, yeah. Who else could it be? It depends what we can get back from Curnow. Is Butters available? The other names just aren't there.
Are we banking on, does one or two of Cottrell, Evans, Motlop have to hit?
Cottrell, Evans, and Motlop have to hit. Yeah, God, I don't know how to answer that.
Because we've currently also got Elijah and Moya who are nailed on in that forward line. I think that's my concern. We need to address this. And I'm sorry, we can't keep picking up Flynn Youngs and Will Whites. And even though Frankie Evans at the moment looks like he's a hit, we can't keep picking up these guys. We need to find a way to bring in top-level talent there. Or draft it.
I agree.
Last name I'll throw out there, and again, this is not exciting. A lot of this list is not exciting. But in a world where Charlie goes and maybe we get Errol in this, or we get a Butters, and we just need a key forward. Maybe we draft a youngster as well in there. We have someone developing, but we just, for 1 year, we go, look, we can't address this right now. We've got Buku. We need just a player. Would you be open to a guy for one season like a Jeremy Finlayson 29 being delisted?
Yeah. Absolutely.
If there was a plan around he's not there the next year, he's a name I'm surprised hasn't been sort of like mentioned.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Oh, that gets me excited more than a few of the names that we've gone through to fill a hole.
Because I know we sort of had some battles this year and whatnot, and his body hasn't been amazing over the last couple of years, but as a guy who can kind of ruck, can kind of play forward, if you're able, you could sell me on that as a stopgap for a season.
Yep.
Just an interesting name I thought of that I hadn't seen out there. But let us know your thoughts to all of this, because the depth chart's kind of made me a bit depressed, I'll be honest, Lockie, and just because of the lack of names. But we've ticked over to midnight, so I don't know when this episode will be out. We're currently, just for context, it is 12:53 a.m. Friday, the 5th of September. There is still plenty of time to go in this trade period. Plenty of names can come out of nowhere and be linked. But at the current time, I'm not excited about what we could potentially bring in, because I think we need to go a lot bigger here. We've got the cap to spend it. We just need to find those right players.
I agree. I think we've got plenty more to discuss on this.
Absolutely. But that is going to wrap this episode up. Let us know your thoughts to everything we covered in the YouTube comments if you're watching there. Let us know your thoughts on who you'd trade, delist, or keep. What is your depth chart looking like? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? And what are your thoughts on all the news going around at the moment on Charlie, on Jack, on Voss's tonal change? We're interested to hear it all. If you're listening in audio form, head over to the socials at Navy Blue Corner and send us a DM. We'll be chatting for sure. And there's plenty more off-season content to come. We still have to do our season review where we go over all the predictions that we had, the votes, a lot more fun, plus more deep diving into the list, more reacting to the news. We'll have a trade preview. We'll review the trade period. We'll get into the draft. There is so much spicy stuff to happen. It feels like it's going to be one of the biggest off seasons at this football club. We'll be here to cover it all up, the bloody baggers. We'll see you guys next time.